Hello, everyone, and welcome to another small screen Star Wars. As always, I am Julian Much. I am joined by Rachel Wilkinson, who's like over my shoulder. You got to
I'm
move
back.
over a little bit.
Okay. Yeah, I'm back.
She's back from Star Wars Celebration, and she's got
Yeah.
a whole, I think you said 5 minutes of things to tell us about
Look, what you need to know about me is I'm not a fancy rich person, and I couldn't afford all the luxuries of
Right.
going for all 4 days, so I only went the one day. I was not in any of the panels. I know you guys thought maybe I was in some of the panels.
Oh,
'cause
that's
I was
what
that
that's
close.
what we were wrong about.
Yeah, no,
Uh-huh.
and amongst other things, you were wrong last
Right,
episode.
right.
No, I wasn't in any of the panels. But no, we were at the convention just taking it all in, seeing all the really cool cosplayers, and lurked around where people were doing the autograph signing. So I got to see Ashley Eckstein and
Like
Ian
from
McDiarmid.
afar?
From afar, Ian McDiarmid. But they had this like main stage that they were calling like Star Wars Celebration
Right.
Live, kind of like right in the convention.
Yes, I think I saw the like overhead shots or whatever.
Yeah, probably.
on
So
YouTube.
they had some host guy and he was just like throwing stuff into the crowd all the time. But yeah, so they were doing some interviews up there every once in a while, and then we were just kind of in the area, and all of a sudden he just said, "Oh, if you want to make your way over to the stage, we're gonna have a really cool special guest, like an
Right.
what's the word, unscheduled special guest,
Unannounced.
unannounced." Yeah. So we were like, okay, I'm thinking like at most I was like, oh, maybe it's like Ian McDiarmid, like that'd be really cool. Maybe it's Ashley Eckstein, like.
Mm-hmm.
But we're like, well, maybe it's Obi-Wan. Who knows?
And then turns
And
out
then
it was
Obi-Wan. It was so cool.
Yeah, that's fun.
So we were honestly like 30 feet from him. Like he was just standing right there, and everyone's just like chanting Obi-Wan
Right.
at him. And some guy yelled, he's like, he has the high ground. And like, it was pretty good.
And everyone
but-
started, and everyone laughed.
Yeah.
And we all had the best time.
It was the best. It was just cool. I've been to Comic Cons and stuff before, but I've never been to just a Star Wars
Yeah.
one. So it was
That
just
sounds
really neat to have like so many really good cosplayers. Like there was people there, like I saw pretty much an exact replica of Captain Rex. Like it's
Right.
just like it was Captain Rex to me, and I showed.
Was
you
it
the greatest
Rexing
that we
around?
saw.
Was it?
Yeah.
Was it?
I saw a Lego Obi-Wan Kenobi. Like he had the big Lego head.
Yeah.
It was so good. There was just so many like really funny and like mashup ones, and yeah, I don't know. It's just cool being around a bunch of different people and seeing all the different booths and stuff. And,
Yeah, and you probably got that shirt there, or you had that shirt longer.
This one, no,
Yeah.
I couldn't. Again,
I can't
they
afford the
had
shirts.
a Star Wars Celebration store, but you had to like line up and be in line for like hours to get into it. And,
Is
like,
this for celebration themed things? There's nowhere else you could buy
no,
shirts
there
or
was
something?
like tons of other places you could buy shirts and like get other
Right.
things, but like Celebration has its own like merch
Right.
line in it.
Yeah, but why would you want that anyway?
Yeah, it's cool. They give you a bunch of free stuff anyway, like when you get there, like passes and your badges and like,
Okay,
lanyards
that's
and
cool.
stuff. So yeah, I don't
Yeah,
know.
who needs a shirt? You know you were there.
I mean, yeah, I have one from a different year. Because we can get them like after. That's the end.
Right.
We just get them online after. So it's like, I'm not gonna waste time.
Right.
Now that I've done it the first time, I would go back and get more days because you don't want to waste like your whole one day there trying to get on panels because you literally have to like we were talking to people who were in them and they're like, oh yeah, we had to line up here at 6:30 in the morning. It didn't open until 10.
Oh my
and then they
god.
had to like bolt and like run to even
That sounds
get
terrible.
in
There's got to
line.
be a better way.
I think you can buy passes to get into those panels, which are more expensive. But then if you want like the overflow, they let like some people in for free. So if you want to be in those panels, you can like spend a bunch of money. But again,
how much was it to go to a panel? You have to pay to go to a panel? That's new
I don't
for
even
me.
know. Yeah, I don't even know. That's just they were telling us if you wanted to get in for free, you just basically had to run there. It's like rush seating.
That
and,
sounds
like, they
terrible.
only let a certain number of people in and that kind of thing, which was like definitely cool if you're part of it. But then you're also sitting there for like hours in those panels, which is also cool. But if you're only there for one day,
Yeah.
it's like
I mean, if you go to the panels, are you there for the whole day? Is that the kind of the deal? Like all the panels
some
that
of
roll
panels are
through?
long, like they'll go
Yeah.
for like 2 hours, and then if you're waiting like all morning just to be in there, and then you don't get out of the panel. We talked to guys who they didn't get out of one of the panels until about 2:00
Yeah.
or something, and they had been there since 6 a.m. and that's all they did was go see one panel, which was like probably still cool. I think they were on the Mandalorian one with like Dave Filoni and
Right. And I think they
everything,
showed
so-
some stuff that we didn't. No one else got to
Yes,
see.
Yeah, so like you get to see pretty cool stuff, and I want to go again. I mean, next year I can't because it's in literally like London, UK.
Yeah. I mean,
But next time it's in
flights are cheaper to London than they are to Toronto these days. So
yeah, that's fair. And like being this, well, I guess our dollar's no better.
no, it's
but-
it's still not great, but
Yeah.
it would be a fun excuse to go visit London.
Yeah, actually, yeah, that's true. But no, it was super cool, and I would 10 out of 10 recommend anybody go. If you're ever thinking about it, definitely do it.
I really
'cause it
wanted
was
to go.
So cool.
I don't know what year it was in Chicago. I was like,
I
that would
think
be
that was 2019.
yeah, that
'cause
would
I
have been a
a shirt
good
from that.
road trip down.
Yeah,
you know?
then you don't have to fly. I mean, it was nice. It was in Anaheim, California, so I'm like, I'm not gonna complain about
Yeah.
going to California and beautiful weather and beaches and all that.
It's
stuff,
always.
so.
I mean, I guess like a lot of the time it's in California because that's where LucasArts is and Lucasfilm is and all that stuff. But
yeah,
Chicago was cool because it felt like it was nearby. I feel like it's not like Winnipeg's ever going to have a Star Wars celebration. You know what I'm saying?
I think the most would be like maybe Toronto might
Yeah.
get it, maybe Vancouver. I don't know. It's like never gonna be.
Yeah.
never here.
Yeah,
There's
it's
so many
unfortunate.
people there. They're like, "Oh, where are you from? Your accent's weird."
And
they
you're
couldn't
like,
place-
no, you're weird.
I got it a lot that they couldn't place where I was from. They thought it was the States, but they couldn't really place it.
Right.
And then I was like, "Oh no, we're from Canada." And they're like, "Oh, where?" Like Winnipeg, Manitoba. Still no clue where that was. I was like, "It's north of Minnesota." And they're like, "Oh, okay, yeah." like an hour from the Minnesota border.
Right.
But to all those lovely Americans who, at least they didn't peg me as a Canadian right away. But
is that better or worse?
oh no, it's not that it's an issue either way. I just figured I have been told in the past that I have a heavy Canadian accent, so it's just interesting that I don't know.
Well, I don't know. I obviously
There's heavy,
we're
like,
not
American
we're not
accents,
the
too.
we're not the right people to judge that. You need to move over more. You look like you're about to
Damn
fall
it.
off the there you
Yeah,
go.
yeah,
That's
yeah,
better.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it was cool. 10 out of 10, go.
10 out of 10. Go to Star Wars
Everybody go.
Celebration if
Yes.
you can.
Yeah. Oh yeah, and the game you make fun of me for?
Yeah.
They gave me so much swag because they had a booth there. So shout out Galaxy of Heroes for all the cool stuff that they
They're like,
gave me.
finally someone can visit our booth. Thank God.
Yeah. No, if you like walked up, they were like giving you free things if you signed up to play the game. And then I went up and I was like, what if I've been playing it for 3 years? And they're like, oh, we got you. And they like gave us a bunch of stuff. And
Oh, that's cool.
gave me a bunch of in-game currency. So
Oh.
I got 5,000
They're
crystals.
just buying your love,
They
apparently.
were very appreciative. So shout out to them. Maybe they'll sponsor us one day.
Oh, did they do that?
They might.
All right. Well, listen, I've said nothing bad about Star Wars Galaxy of Heroes ever in my life.
Oh, also, Julian made fun of me for getting an R2-D2 tattoo, so everyone, he said, haha, oh no. And I was like, that's rude.
Yeah. I did say that over
It's
text,
super
to be
cute.
clear.
He was mean. He was very mean to me.
Yeah, I mean, just because I wouldn't get an R2-D2 tattoo, you know?
Because you're lame, so...
No, because I can't think of anything I would get as a tattoo. I keep thinking, oh, maybe it would be something Star Wars, and then I can never think of what it would be. I can't figure it out. Maybe like a Republic gear logo.
He's got like a bunch of cool helmets, like a Cody helmet or a Rex helmet. You love Rex and Cody and the clones.
That's true. They are pretty cool. I have a really... So I set up this shelf behind me.
It looks great.
This is the episode where we just talk about the stuff that's going on, and if you're listening, you're very
can
confused.
Skip ahead. It's fine.
No, there's a cool shelf. So we're in the new studio.
Yes.
And last time we recorded together in the same space, we were in the same space, but it wasn't done. So if you're kind of like on the fence, like, is it worth tuning in? Yeah, it is, because you can check out the cool, awesome studio we're in, and you can see what we look like, which I'm sure some people wonder about.
Mm-hmm.
And right over my right shoulder, I'll just move slightly, is my clone shelf, and you can't really tell because it's out of focus, but on purpose. But it's so cool. It has Cody and Rex like chit chatting, because they're buddies. They're like chit chatting. Look at it. Yeah, you look.
Okay, yeah, they do look like they're talking. All right.
Yeah.
You're such a dork.
and then I have 3 other clones that I really like. I have a clone Commando. I have a Kaminoan clone from like the final season arc of the Clone Wars season 6, I think. And then I also have Commander Bly, who looks like he's doing a quick draw move. Listen, it does sound lame when you describe it out loud, but I think I posted pictures of it in our. I don't know if I did for sure, but if not, I will. I'll post them in the Discord. So if you want to see those, the best way to get into our Discord is to support the show, which is to head over to patreon.com/TowerBabbleCast. And for as little as $5 a month, you get access to some bonus content that we do for the full show for the Tower Babble podcast. We do a movie club, and we are a little behind on the last one, which is Waterworld. We're reviewing Waterworld for the film club. And so I'm really excited about that. But we had you being away, and I was also
blame
away.
Me.
I was also away.
Yeah. It's not that it's a 3-hour movie.
We lost like yeah, but 3 hours compared to like being gone for like a whole week. You know what I mean?
Okay.
It's like if we were here for a whole week, I think we would have been able to find 3 hours.
Yeah, that's fair.
Anyway, so that's coming soon, and then who knows what the next month will be, but that's really fun. But yeah, we also I don't talk about this enough, but you also get access to our Discord, and we talk about a bunch of random stuff in there. It's really fun chit-chatting. Speaking of chit-chatting, chit-chatting with the folks about different things. We're talking about Top Gun. There's a lot of Top Gun memes in there. It's good stuff. So highly recommend you supporting the show over at Patreon. And if you can't support the show, the other next best thing you can do is subscribe and follow us on all your favorite podcast channels, as well as going to Twitter, twitter.com/TowerBabblecast or at TowerBabblecast on Twitter, facebook.com/TowerBabblecast, and liking and subscribing on our live channels, because we do this live on YouTube, Twitch, and also on Twitter. So if you're on Twitter, you kind of got it both covered, so you're good there. But just saying.
Yeah.
Okay, let's get into this. So if you listened last week, Jeremy and I did a reaction review of the first 2 episodes, which of course dropped early last week. How did you watch them when you were in Anaheim?
Oh, just on the laptop.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
That sucks.
That
sucks.
No, it was fine. It was fine. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, obviously, it would have been nice to watch it on a TV, but there was a TV in the Airbnb, but you had to, like, I don't know, stream it. I don't know how to stream things and shoot them to a TV. I'm old. I don't know.
I'm younger than me, I'm pretty sure.
I know, but I'm really bad with technology. This is why you do this part of it, and I just come here and talk and
right.
drink.
The easy part. Yeah. As long as you bring the beer, it's fine. But you didn't even do
I
that
didn't
this
bring
time.
yours today.
That's okay. Instead, you brought this cool...
Oh, yeah, I did bring you a present.
This cool thing, which is a Star Wars pocket model trading card game from, you said sometime in the early 2000s?
The earliest date I saw on it was 2002. So.
It's really fun.
20
Should we open it?
old.
Let's open it right now. We're already doing the show and tell on a podcast,
Yeah.
so we might as well just dive right into it.
So sorry for the actual listeners.
No, it's like, hold on. So here you want to be able
bullshit.
to hear it opening. So I'm just gonna open it by the microphone.
There, now it lost all its value.
Yeah, I was worried about that.
I paid a whole $5 for it.
You're not supposed to tell someone how much you pay for the gift.
Whatever.
It's okay, we'll tape it back up. Look, it's in good shape. We'll just tape it back up. No one will know. Okay.
Yeah, I don't think it's worth a lot.
All right, so let's look at the cards first, okay? So there is 1, 2, 3, 6 cards. This one says find cover. It's a +1 defense card. +3 defense against blank or blank units. Okay. And there's a quote on here. It says, "We don't have time for this, Captain. Padme Amidala."
Okay, so it's like Pokemon.
Yeah, I don't know about that. I wouldn't say that if you don't know. This one's called. Okay, hold on. I'll hold it up in front of the camera for those who at home who like to see. And then we have Celebration. This also has an episode 1 little thing on it. Looks like at the end of episode 1 with the little parade. But what does it say? I didn't read what it said.
It says, if the opposing unit is destroyed, draw 3 cards and then discard down to your hand size.
Okay, so it's like, I feel like it's more like, seems like it's more like Magic than it is like Pokemon. But that could be just as dumb. That could be just as dumb thing to say. This one says R2-D2, which is a +1.
My favorite.
Yeah, so you can just have this. After this battle, this is a better image than the one that you have on your body.
That's rude.
After this battle, remove a damage counter from every friendly unit in your unit zone. This one says, quote, R2 says the chances of survival are 725 to 1. C-3PO.
Yeah. I'm gonna send a picture of my tattoo to our Discord, and they're gonna tell you how nice it is.
I know they will, because all of our community is super nice, and they're not as cruel as me.
They don't bully me like you.
Yeah, well, you want to bully Tom Cruise on the internet, so
I want to bully him in real life.
It'd be easy to because he's so short. All right, so this one is Clone Troopers. This is my favorite card. It says +1 defense +1 damage if you have more units in your unit zone than your opponent. This game sounds confusing.
Well, yeah, probably.
This quote says, "As my first act with this new authority, I will create a grand army of the Republic." Supreme Chancellor Palpatine.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's 2 more. We have got Blizzard. Oh, I think I held this up, but just in case I didn't. There we go. This one's called Blizzard, +4 defense against non-ground units. Okay, there you go. Looks like a little Empire Strikes Back moment there. And then we've got the little the city where the Gungans live.
Oh, Otagunga.
Otagunga. Whenever one of your units destroys an opposing unit on your turn and it's not damaged, not destroyed, you may move your unit. So I don't really know. Am I supposed to collect these cards and then?
I'm assuming
there seems like
it's
there's
like
some sort
they're
of
packs, kind of like how you would buy, like
Yeah,
Pokemon
yeah.
cards or Yu-Gi-Oh cards or Magic
But they don't
cards.
play this. This game is not made anymore.
I have no clue. You're
There's
asking
like
the wrong
there's a whole section of rules.
person.
But there's also these punch cards. We're not gonna do this now.
Well, yeah, you can build like a little ground unit thing that you can.
Yeah, there's
little
looks like
statue.
here there's a some Naboo stuff. There's like a little tank, and then it looks like there is maybe
That's cool.
It's hard to say. It looks like a lightsaber, but I don't know what that is. But anyway,
it's a model. You can move like a little model that you can use in the game. It looks like there's like ships and.
Well, you guys will have to
walkers
open your
and-
packs, and then we can play a game of our 5 cards against each other.
Yeah, there's over 80 different units to collect.
Oh, really? That doesn't feel like there's
See, look, there's a
many.
website. www.StarWarsPocketModel.tcg.
TCG, Star Wars, trading
.com.
card game.
So
Star
we'll see
Wars,
if it
what?
exists.
Star Wars, what?
Star Wars Pocket Model
Pocket
TCG.
model
TCG.
TCG.com.
Does it still exist?
Let's find out. We're going to the website.
This is the worst
It is
podcast.
not.
It looked free game, Debo. Mobile. I don't
This
know.
is not a real website. What are you talking about?
It's on the package.
Did I type it in wrong? Star Wars Pocket Model MODEL. Yeah, no, I got it. I got it right.
Oh yeah, it says buy this domain.
Yeah,
It doesn't exist.
so
anymore.
anyway, the game's not a thing anymore, but the cards are cool. Anyway, that's our show and tell segment for this audio
yes.
podcast for the day. This is your weekly reminder
Uh.
to come and watch this live.
Yes, it's more fun.
Yeah, it is more fun. You can hang out and talk about Star Wars together.
Mhm.
All right, so let's get into this episode. Last
Yes.
week I said Jeremy stopped in and he and I did a little review reaction. I was very excited because
Yes.
not only did it drop a day early,
Yeah,
which
I was laughing at your theory.
it's like, well,
It's
it's
funny.
really stupid if you think about it. It's like, well,
Yeah.
we're going to move it from the Wednesday to the Friday, and then we're going to move it back to the Thursday. But it might be, I could also be wrong about that because it might have been moved a whole week to the Friday back. But I don't
I don't know.
remember for sure. But either way, it dropped a whole couple hours early, which I really wish that was the premiere time I would
Yeah,
prefer it
me
was
too.
earlier than that, but if it couldn't be earlier than that, that would be ideal, right?
Yeah.
And we could watch it live, and there's not a chance I'd get spoiled on Twitter the next day,
Yeah.
like I did with
Mando season 2.
Mando. Well,
Mhm.
actually, I was thinking about that. I got wrong. I got a lot of things wrong. Yeah, last week I was super excited. Didn't really do a lot of the pre-research that I do.
Yeah, you were definitely wrong about that Inquisitor. That is a species.
Is
They're
it
called Powin?
Powan? But he just
And they're
doesn't
from
look
Unpao-
like a
or
Powan, though,
Eco,
does he?
yeah. No, he just has like little extra red markings on his head, but everything else about him looks exactly like them.
The shape of his head is completely wrong.
Okay, other than the shape of his head, it's like he's got the teeth, he has the eyes, he has like the
His
skin
teeth are regular, aren't
folds.
they? Regular
No, they're
ass teeth,
spiky.
are they?
Yeah, they're spiky.
Okay, so yeah,
Yeah.
So to be fair, I'm not the only one who had this theory. I had heard other people have the theory,
that
but
he's
they also
painted?
no. That
Oh.
it's the Grand Inquisitor from Rebels is a different character.
Oh, I can see that maybe, but I just feel
it
like
just
he's
seems
not
unlikely, right?
Dead. I just think he's not dead. But
Well, then where the hell is he? Why is no one talking? No one mentions his name.
I don't know.
right?
He's doing that thing where you think he's dead and then he crawls away and then he comes back with a vengeance later.
I suppose, but
We'll see.
with Vader involved, who even gives a shit, right?
Because I kind of heard someone say you needed him, the Grand Inquisitor, to be kind of gone in order for
Pretty
Vader
sure
to
I
be-
said that.
Did you say that?
Yeah,
In
I'm pretty
order for
sure I
Vader to
said that
be
last
Did
week.
you? Okay, maybe
Yeah.
you did. I told you I half listened to the episode. So yeah, that makes sense. If the Grand Inquisitor is not around,
Yeah.
then they need Vader to kind of do that job because.
Well, it's more like they needed Vader, so they needed to eliminate the Grand Inquisitor, move him out of the way.
Right. Yeah,
so he wasn't a
so
distraction.
that he's not Yeah. So I don't know.
Well, anywho, that was one of the things I may have gotten wrong.
Mhm.
But the point was that I got really excited about last week's episode because it was really great to have Obi-Wan finally here. And it was like,
Oh,
I was
it's
ready to, it was really a crazy week last week between Top Gun and Obi-Wan. I was just like riding really high.
Rough week for you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was just, I went to see Top Gun twice in theaters. I saw Obi-Wan. I only saw the first episodes once, actually. So I actually do need to rewatch it. I've seen the third episode twice now.
Me as well. But
and there's lots of it's a 6-episode series. There's a perfect chance to just start from the beginning and rewatch it at the end. We're halfway through.
Yeah,
which is crazy to think and sad.
Sad, yeah.
Yeah.
Hey, he says he wants to sign on for a second season. So.
Well, you're right. Ewan does say that, but like, does that mean? I feel conflicted because did he spoil us on how? I mean, I know he survives. We know he survives.
Well,
right?
obviously.
But like, do we get spoiled on like how it's resolved? Like, is it just like back to status quo? He's sitting on Tatooine again, and it's like, if they want to do a second season, I guess they could, right? Like maybe there was more adventures we didn't know about, right?
I
But
don't know. Guess we'll have to wait and find out.
I
he did make a comment when he was talking to me in real life because he was talking to me.
He was talking to you, yeah.
Yes, we had a conversation.
Yep.
And he was just saying like, oh, I hope he was just basically giving the crowd some love and saying how much he appreciates the fan base and
right.
how grateful he is for all the Star Wars fans. But he was saying that he's like, oh, I hope you enjoy episode 1 and 2, and then he's like, and 3 and 4 and 5 and 6. Then he's like, and 7 and 8, and like kind of kept going, and everyone was just like losing
like,
it.
Oh,
yeah.
there's secret episodes. Yeah.
I think you just kind of alluding that maybe there'll be more. So
okay, so one of the big things that I was talking about last week with Jeremy was that this show was able to justify its existence by bringing in Leia, right?
Oh yeah, well it totally makes sense,
right? But none of us had figured that out. It seems so obvious.
As soon as I started doing that, I was like, oh my god, of course, because you're giving us the backstory of like why she knows Obi-Wan and why he's our only hope, and that whole hologram makes sense now about them having like this pre-existing relationship. It's
so
it's the best.
So it is really like it's pitch perfect in my opinion, awesome, and the actress who's playing her,
she's so good.
I should get her name. I didn't remember it last week, and I have the IMDb here. Vivian Lyra Blair.
Oh, she's so good.
Yeah, she really is, and she was even better, I think, in episode 3 or chapter 3. Here's the thing: each of these shows has like a different naming convention for their episodes, and it's really annoying.
Yeah, these are the parts.
Yeah, parts or chapters. So I think both Mando and Boba Fett had chapters.
Yeah. Well, it means
right.
Yeah.
And they would do like special names for them. It was like chapter 1, blah blah blah, right? And then this show is just like just part 1, part 2, no special name. Although I kind of like having the title episode title.
Try and figure it out.
Yeah, because it's not like it's like it's a thinly veiled reference or whatever, but it's fun to be able to be like, oh, I wonder what that means, or whatever. But
well, remember how much you hated all the titles?
Oh, Boba Fett ones were brutal.
The title card, I guess we call it a title card.
Yeah,
you hated them.
They were just really
it was
uninspired.
Just like Boba Fett meets an acquaintance.
Right. It's like it's just basically just
a stranger comes to
the
town.
most boring, lame ass shit. Yeah, I wasn't a fan.
So I mean, at least now
the Mando ones were cool. I don't remember what they are off the top of my head. And it's weird because I also watch a lot of Star Trek. I know, blasphemy. But I know, but in the Star Trek fandom, everyone seems to be able to reference episode names all the time of like episode from Deep Space Nine episode blah named this, and I would be like, how do you and everyone seems to be able to do that, and I don't understand. I have no idea. I know like a couple like The Cage or whatever, which is like the pilot episode for the original series, but there's very few that I would be able to just like name off the top of my head. So I don't know.
Maybe you're not hardcore enough.
Maybe there's a lot of people in Star Wars quoting the names of the episodes from Obi-Wan and or whatever. I can do it with the Obi-Wan ones, but
I heard that you're not allowed to call people who like Star Trek Trekkies anymore.
I don't know if that's true.
Someone told
I consider
me
myself
it was
a Trekkie.
derogatory and that they're Trekkers, not Trekkies. So
Trekkers? Yeah, okay.
Correct me if I'm wrong.
Well, I don't know if that's true.
Just BSing me and because I'm gullible. I don't know, but
that's probably more likely.
I'm a Star Wars fan. I wouldn't know. We don't really have a name for Star Wars fans, do we?
Star Wheezies.
Is it? That's not
No,
what it
it's
is.
not.
I was like, you just made that up.
Starries. Starros. Yeah.
Let's not make one up, but
Star Wheezies is good. I like that one. Anyway, let's talk about the actual episode.
Yeah.
So, I guess before we get into before we get into talking about the actual episode, can you fill the rest of us in on your thoughts on the first 2 episodes? Just brief.
Okay.
Yeah.
No, I really enjoyed them. I was kind of right in the same boat with you of being really surprised that it was a Leia story, but then so excited. I thought her performance was just so good. And everything else is just like, it's also just so heartbreaking at the same time. You're like, you can see this like conflict in Obi-Wan, and you know, when is it Reva?
Yes.
Reva is just taunting him, and she's just when he's kind of hiding from her, and she's like, "Oh, he's alive, like Anakin Skywalker," and it's like, how does she know who Anakin is? But I've seen some other theories about that, which is kind of cool. That
do you remember what I said about that last week? Because I don't.
I don't know if I got that far.
All right, fair enough.
But I saw a theory because they do kind of apparently show her in the very first episode.
Well,
that's
what everyone. That's what everyone
youngling.
thinks. That
maybe she saw Anakin.
Maybe there's more than
people.
one black girl in the Jedi Order.
Obviously there is, but I think like they make a point of showing this young girl and center her, and like you never know. Star Wars likes to do that kind of stuff. Like they give you those little gimmies, and then later it's like, oh, see, that's who she was. But maybe she saw Anakin coming through, just murdering younglings.
Well,
and
I'm teasing. I mostly agree with that theory. I think it's very likely that is Reva. I think this episode specifically, episode 3, there's that moment where she sees the Jedi logo on the wall, emblem, and there's like this like brief moment of conflict, I guess, in her before she gets angry again. So I think it's very likely that, and in fact, it's like, you know, what is all these stories kind of end with either the good guy becoming the bad, or the bad guy becoming the good guy, or the good guy becoming the bad guy by the end. So it's like, well, we know that's not going to happen for Vader for a while, and you know we know Obi-Wan's not going to turn to the dark side. So it's like, where else do we find room? Where's the wiggle room there? Okay, Reva might have that moment of conflict, probably gets murdered by Vader at the end, but but you know,
something like that.
I'm not like, listen, just because it feels formulaic or we can predict it, I'm like very confident that that's what's going to happen, but it doesn't mean we can't enjoy it. I think.
Oh yeah.
I think there's going to be lots of twists and turns, and there's no guarantees.
No, of course
just
not.
seems like that's where they're kind of leading with only half, the season left.
Yeah. I don't know. I really like those first 2 episodes, and it's heartbreaking to see Obi-Wan like kind of struggling with the Force a little bit. It seems like he's a little cut off.
Yeah, 100%.
Trying to talk to Qui-Gon. I can't wait. I hope we get
Qui-Gon
voice at least cameo.
There's no way he doesn't appear. I think
he's got to. Yeah,
it's Chekhov's Qui-Gon. It's like you don't just
Chekhov's Qui-Gon.
you don't just put a whole thing about how, like, in the recap about how Yoda's going to teach him how to commune with his former master, right? And then not have that, and then have him multiple times trying to do it, and then not have it pay off. Come on, I mean. That would just be cruel, I feel like.
That's true.
Right?
Yeah.
And Qui-Gon, or not Qui-Gon, who's the actor who plays Qui-Gon? Liam Neeson, has said that he's like down to do more Star Wars stuff. Awesome. So that would be more Qui-Gon, the better, in my opinion. He's basically the coolest. He's the coolest Jedi.
Okay.
Like he's really far up there as being.
I don't know if
he's
cooler
played
than
by
Obi-Wan.
He's played by Liam Neeson.
Yeah, but he's not Obi-Wan.
Well, he's not Ewan McGregor, I guess,
Ewan
but
McGregor.
like, yeah.
He's so handsome.
Yeah. Okay. Fair enough. It's a rough 10 years for him after this after this series.
Well, he's already. Well, we'll get to it, but maybe we're seeing why he looks so rough.
Right. Yeah. No, you're right.
It's
I think a lot being dragged through fire turns out is very difficult on the skin.
Dragged through the coals.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so let's get into this. Because again, the nature of the show isn't quite the same as some of the other shows we've been doing. So I'm kind of trying out a different format for reviewing this or recapping this, which is more just kind of like picking out the moments that kind of stood out to me.
Okay.
Key themes or images or whatever, and just going through it, and then at those moments, seeing, where you slot in with those as well. So
sounds good.
The episode starts with them meditating on the cargo ship that they left at the very end. this series seems to pick up like moments after the last episode. There's no in between, which I think is good. If you wanted to at the end, if it continues to follow that trajectory, you can just sit down and watch a 6-hour movie.
Yeah.
At the end, like that would be a pretty sweet Star Wars movie, to be honest.
I probably will.
This is the best looking Star Wars show I think we've gotten.
Oh, I can't.
Next to parts of The Mandalorian. It's not. It's
Right.
very, very. It has a bit more grandeur than some of the parts of Mandalorian, but like, and I mean, including by the way, those 2 chapters from.
Oh, okay. I was gonna say, I'm like also those 2 chapters in Book of Boba
Yeah,
Fett that
those
were also Mandalorian.
right,
that were
but like
beautiful.
that sequence where they're on that like big ring
gorgeous.
planet or whatever is so
It's
unbelievable.
beautiful,
right?
yeah.
So that I don't think we've quite reached that level here, and they're obviously using more like real space than the volume in this show. It seems like, which I like a lot. But like, it's hard to also beat the sequence that opens up the whole series, right? Which with Order 66 and this new look at in HD at the whole Jedi Temple and seeing clones in like live action armor for the first time is really exciting for me specifically.
Oh, right. Yes, I didn't realize that all the clones.
Every single one. There was not even there was no piece of clone armor that existed.
Like, I guess when I think back of it now, like, yeah, they don't look super real, but I figured still, like, Cody, when he talks to Obi-Wan, would have been real, or like some of those would have been real people.
They're like compositing shots of like of his head onto CG bodies and stuff like that. But
yes.
There's never been clone armor in real life, which is why it was always hard for people to make clone armor or harder, is my understanding, to make clone armor for, Comic-Con and stuff and cosplays, because there was no kind of template to go off of. You had to kind of figure it out yourself based on the animated series or, on the limited shots you get up close of the armor.
Interesting. Okay.
So, but anyway, this time that's not the case, because we've already seen a couple of instances of live action clones. And like, I gotta say, the people that they got to do the clone, who like put on the actual armor, you have to move in a certain specific kind of way to look like a clone, in my opinion.
Okay.
You can't just put the armor on and you're a clone. You have to move in a specific kind of way.
Yeah.
Right? And I found that the movement was really solid there. And by the way, I think that's true for Hayden, who's playing Vader in this series. The movement of Vader seems to fit here. Yeah. Okay, so we're meditating on the cargo ship. Speaking of Qui-Gon, Obi-Wan's trying to talk to Qui-Gon he's asking for him to give him strength, but instead he hears memories, flashes. He hears Reva talking about Anakin being alive. He hears Yoda. He also hears Qui-Gon, but a memory of Qui-Gon,
right? His
last words, and then he hears Anakin, and they picked, I think, some of the worst dialogue that they could have chosen for that.
Oh, yeah?
They used the line, "If you're not with me, you're my enemy," which I always thought was poorly delivered and, like, sounds dumb to say out loud. If you're not with me, you're my enemy. It's like, oh, my God. And so, like, I was like, that is funny to me that they would choose those specific lines of dialogue.
See, what would you have liked better? Just the "I hate you"?
The "I hate you" would have been very good.
Yeah.
Right? Or the stuff about like, "You underestimate my power."
Oh, yeah.
There's like a lot of better lines available there. But like one of the ones they do use is good, which is "I'm not afraid of the dark side." Right? That's a good line.
Yeah.
But "If you're not with me, you're my enemy" has always been super lame. Unfortunate that was one they picked, but cool moment nonetheless. And I think you're right. It shows this Obi-Wan is really struggling. I think people have talked about, they call it PTSD, this depression, all these kind of things. It's hard to, I don't want to diagnose a character's psychological well-being based on their performance on a TV show, but it's clear that he's short with Leia. He's quick to anger. He's kind of lost a lot of faith in humanity. And he's not in a good place, and he's right. He's not connected to the Force, because not only does Vader kick his ass in this episode, but the last, when he tries to save Leia, it was like this really like excruciating effort for him, and it's like, that's usually not a thing. By the way, I forgot to say, I didn't mention this last week, but it just came to mind. In that episode last week, in episode 2, chapter 2, Leia's like, if you're a Jedi, make me float.
Yeah.
And I was like, that is the funniest shit. Because I always talk about, I'm like,
Yeah.
Jedi should fly. Why can't Jedi fly? If they can make everything else fly,
Yeah.
why can't they make themselves fly?
Yeah.
Or why can't they step on something and make that thing fly? Or whatever, right?
Mm-hmm.
And obviously that's silly because that would be dumb if Jedis could just fly around. They lift their clothes and make themselves fly or whatever. I don't know. But that would be dumb. But I remember thinking that's a really funny thing for a kid to say to someone.
Yeah, of course. It's exactly what a kid would say.
Yeah.
But
Oh, then make me float, Jedi.
yeah.
Make me a bicycle clown.
Oh my god. Oh my god. But no, you're right. I do think the whole thing about Obi-Wan being short with her and not necessarily being the Obi-Wan we're used to, not being as like jokey and fun-loving. It's like because he's cut off from the Force. He's like.
Well, and he thought his best friend was dead, but now not only is he not dead, it's worse. He's coming to kill him.
Yeah, and he's the.
Right?
Oh yeah, we'll get to that scene, but it's like, oh, it's so bad.
Oh yeah, so we will get to that.
Yeah.
But what I like about this scene is because it's being intercut with Vader. Being assembled, and of course we got that amazing shot in the end episode 2 with Vader's eyes, and that's really cool. And so they kind of pick up right at that same moment, and they're just assembling him. His arms are being attached, and his legs are being attached.
I like this part. Yeah.
Yeah, it's similar to the scene from Rogue One, but like more. There's more to it, you know.
Well, there's like this whole it's in other Star Wars media about. How Vader's suit is actually really painful, and it's like Palpatine created it to be painful so that he's always in physical pain. So when they
wouldn't he?
Yeah, so when they show you like they're putting that chest plate on him, there's like spikes.
Oh.
And it's like stabbing into him. So it's like his entire suit is supposed to always be causing him pain to keep him angry and to keep him so that he doesn't ever like go
question
anything because he's always mad, he's always in pain, he's always like feeling that feeling. So it was cool that we got a glimpse of that, of actually being able to see that like painful suit being put on him.
Well, it also would explain a lot of why he doesn't really move very well.
I was gonna say that, and that's why he's kind of like stiffer and moves. Well, I mean, he also like has no arms or legs,
but like,
and like he's stiffer.
Everyone else we know who has fake arms and limbs and whatever in Star Wars can walk and move just fine.
But yeah, it's painful. That's why he moves weird and like.
Yeah.
It's like he can't flip around and fly like Anakin used to because he's
right. Listen, Jedi can't fly. We just talked about this.
Basically, they can.
Right. They can jump from as high as they want, and they can jump super high, and they can make everything else. Anyway.
Yeah.
So it does look really cool, and the kind of the shot that ends this kind of sequence is Vader walking towards the camera, and he's in silhouette. And listen, Star Wars can get a lot of things right and can get a lot of things wrong, but this shot of Vader, which they used for the promo of the show, is so badass.
Yeah,
it's the perfect silhouette. It's an awesome poster. Like
I was gonna say, I want that as artwork.
Right?
Or a
it's
poster.
It's one of those shots from Star Wars that just seems perfectly composed to like a piece of art. And they just got the cape perfectly right. It's kind of has this perfect I don't know, like pyramid shape to it that I don't feel like they always get the silhouette right. Well, the other thing I like about Vader in this series, which I don't remember where I originally kind of was brought aware of this at some point. It might have been the Nerd Writer. I think I'm almost 95% sure. There's an amazing channel on YouTube called the Nerd Writer, and he does these amazing little video essays. And one of them was on the iconography of Darth Vader and what makes him so like instantly recognizable, and his silhouette is the major part of it.
Oh, of course,
so they talk about his silhouette, but they also talk about like the way he's shot. And in the first movie, his helmet's very dull, like it's kind of matte in color.
Right.
And then in Empire Strikes Back, it's very shiny, and there's a lot of shots of like light bouncing off of it and the back of his head, and like the camera pans around. It's really cool. And so they kind of went with this Empire Strikes Back style shininess that I think makes Vader way cooler to me.
Because he's shiny Vader.
Well, because it like there's this it feels too cheap otherwise.
Okay,
you know,
yeah.
he has this like air of nobility to him when he's like really everything's like perfectly nicely buttoned up and shiny and polished.
Yes, yes.
You know?
Well, if you even notice, like, just looking at this photo, the like silhouette of his helmet is similar to the silhouette of his
Oh
cape.
yeah.
So
yes.
it's very like asymmetrical like that. Like it looks really good. I think we're gonna get a lot of really good like artwork out of this series. There's already been some
Yes.
shots that are like gorgeous. Oh, we got we got a message here from Kevin.
Yeah. Kevin Gregoire on the YouTube says that's his secret. He's always angry. That's why he smashed so good, which is of course a reference to the Hulk. But I think you're onto something, Kevin. I mean, I think they talk about this in some of the supplemental material in like the Vader book and other places. I'm trying to think of the name of the book, but there's a book specifically about Vader and Palpatine. They're like stuck on this planet together, and basically there's these elements where Vader talks about how he refuses to acknowledge his he purposely stomps it out and makes himself angry because he knows it gives him just a little bit little bit of a power boost.
Right.
And he's like, that's what he's looking for.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
So anyway, we see Vader get a symbol. There's a sweeping cape. Vader then is on his throne on Mustafar. I've seen people complain about this looking funny. I didn't feel that way. Maybe I was distracted because this is the first time we hear James Earl Jones again.
Yeah, I got so excited. I was like, oh, cool. I was just so pumped about the scene in general. Just seeing Vader. And
listen,
more of him,
normalize Vader just having conversations with people.
Yeah.
This needs to be, we haven't, it's always him doing scary stuff and, or one line of, brief thing, bring the shuttle or whatever he says in Rogue One.
Right.
Ready the shuttle or ready a boarding party, I think he says.
Mm-hmm.
But, that's it. And instead, and if you compare it to the original films, he's actually quite chatty in certain parts, where he's choking people out and having conversations over video and all this kind of stuff. And I like, obviously, if you stretch even further into the comics and stuff, he becomes even more chatty. And, and
it's not like he doesn't talk. Books, everything. He's got.
So if we're going to get more Vader stuff, which I can't imagine we're going to get less Vader stuff, there's only going to be more, right? Just normalize the fact that he can have normal conversation. I mean, maybe not normal conversations, but he can have a quote-unquote conversation with someone without it feeling odd that he's talking this much,
Right.
And it's like he doesn't have to be in some cool pose, although in this case, he's sitting on a throne. Just make it normal for him to be out and about and around. That's kind of what I'm saying.
Absolutely.
So anyway, he's on the throne. He's chit chatting with Reva. Yeah, they're having a little bow wow, and it's essentially the connection what people had assumed from last week, which is that she was vying for power, and he's. I mean, it's obvious. This is kind of what this is why they have a rule of two. Is because the Sith are always trying to one-up each other, trying to get that little extra bit of power. So he is dangling the carrot in front of her, saying, if you do this, I'll give you this little morsel, but if you don't, I'll kill you. Which is the typical, it's usual,
Vader.
Typical Vader stuff.
Typical Sith Lord,
I loved James Earl Jones, obviously amazing. Here's the thing that I'm wondering about: did they do any audio modifications to his voice, beyond adding the breathing and all that kind of stuff? The reason I asked that is because in Rogue One, it was the first time we had heard James Earl Jones do the voice since Rebels,
right?
And I felt even in Rebels and before even Rogue One, that James Earl Jones, his age had caught up with his voice a lot, and he felt he sounded a lot older to me. Than Vader, because if you listen to Vader, the young James Earl Jones, and the 77 and all that kind of stuff in the original series, his voice is very powerful, but it's got a lot of energy to it.
Okay.
And where are the plans? You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
That kind of stuff it kind of really comes through, and I felt like it was lacking that a little bit in Rebels and Rogue One. So it felt much more like that young version of Vader. So I'm wondering if they did a little bit of audio work like they did with Mark Hamill to make the voice sound
A little younger.
A little younger.
Okay, yeah, they could. I mean, they have the technology now, so
Right.
they could. I feel like it might be a little bit easier with Vader too, because his voice is kind of. It to me, it's always sounded kind of hollow
Mm-hmm.
because he's like speaking through this mask, right? So it's always sounded a little echoey, a little like almost like it's through like a tin can.
Yeah.
I guess is the best way I can explain it. So I think you have a little bit more like room to
Well,
play with that.
you can certainly do like a fake Darth Vader way
Yeah.
more convincingly than you can
Yes.
anything else, right?
Yeah.
So, like the thing with Luke was that it turns out it wasn't his voice at all. It was this like computer generated voice,
Mm-hmm.
which is weird.
Which
And
was
it's
weird,
like,
yeah.
but if you're gonna do it with any character, I feel like Vader would be the one to do that with. You know?
Yeah,
because
that's true. But I mean, if you
for
have
all-
James Earl Jones, like obviously, use
Right,
him, but-
but the thing is, though, we might find out at the end of this that it's like, yeah, it's James Earl Jones because we had used his audio clips to make, from other movies or
Right.
whatever to make
That's
audio,
fair.
this AI model, so we could do it. So I don't know, but if that's true, it's very convincing.
Mhm.
And I thought I had problems with it. And Kevin Gregoire is saying they used the same company that did Luke's voice, and I'm wondering if, whereas, Luke, Mark Hamill's voice is very different than it was when he was young.
It is, yeah.
So, even if Mark re-recorded lines and then they were going to like modify them in some way, that would be a very different story than I think James Earl Jones, who I think isn't, although maybe we haven't heard him speak out loud in, a long time either necessarily. So
Mhm.
maybe this is completely generated, but I feel like if you're going to modify an actual performance, it'd be easier to do with James Earl Jones' voice.
I think so too.
But-
yeah,
Also, I'm not an audio engineer, so I don't know anything about that.
yeah.
Anyway, that's just me geeking out over having Vader back on screen.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah,
So-
it was very cool.
We're back in the ship, and Leia's asking, when they're gonna get there. Classic kid stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And I love Obi-Wan's response was, "It's a trade route, Leia. I'm not in control of it," which I
Yeah.
think is a reference to Episode 1.
Yeah, it's
Um,
all about trade.
it's all about trade
Yeah.
routes, right? And of course, how they
Yeah.
can't control them.
Yes.
And then there's also the line about how she's asking about like what's the Force feel like, which is actually a really nice.
I
touching
liked
moment.
this. I really liked how he explains it too.
Right.
It was.
I've never heard anyone describe the Force that way, and
No,
it
it
feels
was-
completely novel, but also very true to Obi-Wan.
Well, and because I've been reading
It surrounds us,
the,
it binds us.
yeah, I've been reading those like the Old Republic books.
Yes.
The three of them there. So I finished those, and they kind of explain it that like each Jedi actually like senses and feels the Force in like a different way. Like it
Of course,
comes
they would say
through.
that because now then there's no right way, and then.
But no, it was cool. It was like because for like
just
Avar
kidding.
Chris, it comes through to her as almost like a song, but to one of like I think it's like what's his name, Elzar Mann. Is that
I don't know
Elzar?
any of the
Okay,
names
whatever.
from
One
the
of the
High
other
Republic.
characters for him, it felt more like an ocean, like
Right.
the waves of an ocean. So it's like each person kind of like feels it slightly different. So I kind of like that, where like Obi-Wan being like, okay, do you know like the lightness and the darkness and safeness, and to
Right.
him it feels like
Like a safe blanket.
like a warm, safety, and it feels safe. And have you ever been scared of the dark?
It's a little teddy
And,
bear. It's his little teddy bear. Yeah.
Like how do you like? Oh, I just really like that. Like
Yeah.
it was like a really cool way to like a simplified way to explain it to like a kid, but that still had like I don't know, just like a softness and like a trueness. to
Well,
it.
and there's this, obviously pointing out that he had to explain what the Force was to Luke too. So he's got
Right.
these moments where he gets to explain what it is to Leia.
Oh, yeah.
And I think, by the way, Leia is showing a lot of Force sensitivity.
Obviously, I was just gonna say that too.
She's very
'cause
intuitive.
She's very intuitive, and I think he's picking up on that too, because she keeps saying things to him like, "What are you
You knew my
hiding?"
father.
Yeah,
my,
and like she just knows things, and so I think he's obviously picking up on that. But yeah, that was another thing that I found very interesting. I don't know, to go back to some of the other ones, when he's like having those interactions with Owen
Yes.
there, and how Obi-Wan. I never realized that he thought he was going to train Luke as soon as he was like ready, and Owen isn't okay with that. And
Right.
I didn't really know that was ever like a thing.
I mean, but
so I
here's
was
the
like,
thing,
oh, that's
Owen.
kind of cool. Like,
Owen makes a good point, though. I think that's what's so cool about the performance of Owen here, which I can't remember the
Mhm.
actor's name, but he's it's just an awesome get that he was just happened to be Owen Lars in the original series.
yeah,
But I find that like there's just this honesty of like a parent being like, you're clearly dangerous. Right?
oh yeah,
They're hunting
yeah.
you. there's
It's
no
like, you
way I
can't
would let
be
them get
here.
into that. Joel
Yeah.
Edgerton
Yes.
is
Yeah.
his name. And I just thought the performance was really great. I hope we
No,
get
it's
more of
good.
him before the series is out.
Yeah. It was just really good because I've never really thought of that aspect of Obi-Wan, not wanting to leave Luke alone at
Right.
that point in time. Like, he wants to like train him, and then being shut down and being like, no, like you can't. Like, they're literally hunting you. Like, it's
Do you
like,
think that's a part of the reason that he was willing to go after Leia? Because he felt like Owen kind of had it under control.
yeah, maybe. And he's just kind of like, okay, here's something. I owe it to both of them to protect them, not just one. It's there's still that sense of wanting to protect them and wanting to help them, and I just thought it was very sweet. I love all these little interactions between him and Leia, and I just think they're so sweet. And when he fixes her little droid for her, you get those sweet Obi-Wan moments.
Yeah.
Like, he's a little grubby and he's a little sad and he's kind of withdrawn, but he's still like,
there's these
has
little
that-
moments, and
yeah.
so as I was saying last week, which is just like it's a very different character. He's a very different place in his life.
Mhm.
This is again a character who is affected by loss profoundly. He has basically failed every major mission he's ever been tasked with.
Yeah.
From a life perspective, and it's really tragic, right? He's like he lost his family, and then his new family was taken away, and he got a brother,
Yeah.
and then that brother was turned on him, and it's like whoa, man. I mean, luckily he wasn't around to see, Leia just turn into a blanket, or Luke turn into a blanket. But
Yeah.
they
That's what he does.
He protects them all the way.
Yeah.
Till they get old enough, and then
Turns
they're
into
fine.
a blanket. He also turns into.
By the way, the funniest thing, I still can't. I don't know. This is off topic, but the funniest thing to me has always been Vader kind of stepping on Obi-Wan's cloak after he's like, where'd he go? What is this? What is this move? I've always thought that's the funniest thing in the world.
Like, where is he?
Yeah,
Like, he shrunk into a
yeah, I
rat or
know.
something?
Yeah, he's like, wait, you in there? Hello, Obi-Wan? I just think that's so. I've always thought that's funny. So
Mhm.
that's in Star Wars, and I think if you're making a movie now, he wouldn't do that.
No.
But it's there, so it's like you got to embrace the silliness of it at some point.
Yeah.
So, anyway, there is also that fun reference to "That's Not How the Force Works," which I think is a reference to Episode 7, when she's asking about how the Force works, about making them go faster.
Oh yeah. Like, can't
Yeah.
you just make us go faster?
Yeah,
I
right.
love her. She's so sassy and like, she's just so good. Just like that perfect kind of kid. I don't know. Just the
Annoying,
perfect
but
kid.
also not too annoying.
but cute, and
Yeah.
just like giving you a hard time. But it's great. Yeah.
Thanks, Kevin. We'll see. We'll see you next week.
Yeah. We've been talking too long.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah, my bad. We wasted a lot of time talking about these cards.
Yeah.
All right.
Show and
So,
tell.
moving on. You mentioned fixing the droid. They reached this new planet called Mapuza, which is a mining system. And we get this big sweeping establishing shot. I don't know where this is shot. It looks probably like somewhere in California. But I just thought they do a good job of kind of showing us what I feel like what Lothal would look like, very similar to what Lothal would look like in live action.
Yeah. I can
with
see
like
what you mean.
big sweeping plains with these
Yep.
funky shaped hills, and like factories. There's when the first shot of them walking along that road, you see an Imperial factory like pumping out smoke in the background. It's pretty shorthand, pretty kind of on the nose, but there's the line where he says like, it wasn't always like this. It was lush and green.
Yeah,
and it's like
families and farms.
right.
And, yeah,
and it just makes you think of this. It makes you think of the Clone Wars.
right. Yeah,
for sure. And it's like, so I think they do a good job of establishing why it looks like that, and then it's because that feels like they're using a real world space. It has a sense of wide openness and grandeur that I appreciated. So anyway, it's called the Mapuza, and we get a new droid. We get introduced to a new type of droid, which is this like loader droid, but it looks like a strongman, like a classic strongman dude.
yes, yeah.
And so that's kind of cool. And then we get to see some like Imperials at work in a factory in the distance. And so you get this really great subtle world building of what life under the Empire is like, even just 10 years into its regime, right? Things are much worse than they were for most, like the average person, than it was under the the Republic. And we get to learn their fake names are Orden and Luma, and they're from this place called Tall, which they say like a bazillion times.
Yeah.
But what did you make of this kind of like opening sequence of them getting to the planet, them walking, and I guess there is the moment where, by the way, he snaps at Leia and he's like, "Not all people are good."
Oh yeah.
You know?
I like this kind of opening sequence of, and it is that kind of that mix of Obi-Wan right now where it always, and it still gives me kind of like that dad feeling, like, you know, when you're like being at your kid and you're being really annoying.
It's
and
just that this is about
parent-
Hunter.
Sorry.
It was constantly
it's
talking
the same
about dad.
thing. It's the same thing about like you care about this kid, but they're kind of annoying you, and you're like they snap at you a little bit, but you know they still like care about you and love you, and it's like that very typical kind of like parent.
I'm just like, I don't have time for your insolence.
Yeah.
Kinda, you know,
but
like,
but I feel like he's also scared. Like he's
that's a great point, because I think you see it a little bit later on, more obviously.
Yes.
But he is absolutely terrified all the time.
Yes,
he's
he
worried
is.
for his life. He's worried for Leia's life. He's worried for Luke's life. He feels very strongly, like he feels deeply. So he sees, like, how excited he was when he sees that Quinlan was in the kind of hideout at one point,
thing,
and he's like, oh, he was here, and he reads that little line, and he's like, and it's like gives him a little spark of hope, right? He's really hopeless at this point, and at some point he becomes that vector for hope for Luke and Leia later, but that's 10 years away, and I don't know, if they are teasing another season, which would be very cool. If they are teasing another season, I could see this episode ending in a place where, or this season ending in a place where he's not quite back to that, more happy-go-lucky place that he is in episode 4.
Okay, yeah.
I say happy-go-lucky. I mean, he's clearly not doing great by that point. But he's much more chipper, I feel like, right?
Yes.
And hopeful, and kind of seems to have a plan. He's just kind of going with emotions a little bit here, So what I'm saying is you could leave room for the next season being about that arc, about getting back to that mental place.
Yeah.
And it could, I think it's tough because a show like this, you want some action, you want some exciting moments, but honestly, give me a whole episode of Obi-Wan just moping around his cave and and like talking with Qui-Gon, that would, I'm like, sweet, give me that
around his cave.
Yeah. I mean, am I wrong? That's what he was doing in episode 1.
Yeah, it's true.
Okay, so the Obi-Wan seeing visions. Oh yeah, this is weird. He sees Anakin like in the distance.
I thought that was cool.
Did you? Why did you think it was cool?
Because I think he's literally haunted by Anakin, and he's thinking about it constantly, and I think it's like messing with his mind a little bit, because we had that last episode of Reva messing with him, being like he's still alive, blah blah blah. So I think that's really just like weighing on him right now, and then I just thought it was cool to see Anakin, like Hayden Christensen it's cool to see his real face in this.
I mean, you think that's the most we're gonna see of his real face?
No, I feel like we might maybe see some like Vader meditating stuff, maybe. Or
you don't think we're gonna get him in flashback at all?
Maybe some flashbacks. I don't know. I guess we'll see. We've already gotten a little bit of like a, like this scene right here where we get a little bit of him, but yeah, I'm wondering if there's going to be any on Vader's end when he's kind of in his not his back to tank, but whatever they keep him in when he's not in his
I think it is a back to tank. I mean, I don't know, but like it is. I mean, it's more cloudy than most back to tanks. That's true. It's much more milky.
Ew.
I mean, but am I wrong?
Yeah, no.
It would be. It just feels like a shame if you're going to bring back Hayden Christensen for him to just be under the mask the whole time.
Well, that's what I mean. I feel like we kind of want to see his face a little bit and see some flashbacks.
But like we barely see his face here. He's in the distance and his hood is on, and it's like,
he's all like,
it's very mysterious.
Anakin.
Yeah,
I liked it. I was like, oh, cool. Like, I don't know. He's just very haunted by him. So
I mean, obviously, this is the PTSD element that I think people are referencing. Like, he's clearly he's having like flashbacks and like he in the middle of the day.
Hallucinating basically.
Yeah, not great, Bob. So he's seeing these visions. We cut to another new planet. This is actually a planet we've seen before in Jedi Fallen Order. I don't remember the
Yes.
name of it,
I
but
couldn't remember the name either.
it's where the Fortress Inquisitorius is.
I love,
which is fun to say, but sounds
Yeah.
dumb if you really think about it.
I love bad guy fortresses just in the middle of like a weird ocean.
Right. It's
and
like it's just so
gloomy
impractical.
and-
You know, like what
I just think it's so cool. I'm like, oh yeah,
you have to
it's just,
ship
like,
in
typical.
all the food has to be shipped into this place.
That's what you're thinking.
You know what I mean?
about?
Like just like it's like where does the bat?
Uh,
What do you know?
It's just like a typical bad guy fortress. I just really like it. I was
Yeah,
like, oh,
it-
yeah.
It's so
perfect.
cool looking. I mean,
It
like
is.
it's
really
got
cool
this
looking.
like stylistic similarity to Vader's castle.
Mhm.
It's largely underwater, which is dope. Again, these are things. Some of these things we've seen already in Jedi Fallen Order, but seeing it in live action is really cool. And like, I
That's
love how
neat.
busy it is. Like, there's so many. There's like all these TIE fighters and so many stormtroopers, and you get the Imperials with their stupid little like duck walks around. And,
They're dumb pants.
yeah, and yes, and their big shiny boots.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's like I really love, and because like I think the show really loves it too, because it spends like a good like solid minute of her just no dialogue, just walking through this space.
Yeah.
And then what's even weirder is to me is like when they cut away from this location, there's this like hyper detailed, way too involved like shot sequence of these probes being launched, where they go through this machine thing that like put into this machine and shot up through the sky, and then out this launching tube and then into space. And it reminds me a little bit of like the probes from the beginning of Empire Strikes Back. I mean, that's what they're going for there.
Right. Yes.
But it's just like this like super CG like shot of just machines doing machine stuff.
Mm-hmm.
It has a little bit of like throwback to like the Droid Factory, I guess, in episode 2.
Yeah. Where they're like, yeah.
But I don't know. I thought that it just was odd to me. The music, though, on the other hand, really cool.
Mm-hmm.
Something I forgot to mention last week when talking about this with Jeremy, and it's like I don't know if it came up. I don't feel like it did, but was really diving into the Obi-Wan theme, which is the fact that this is the first time that we've gotten a theme for a specific theme just for Obi-Wan.
Okay.
That kind of has these little elements of kind of a little bit of like the Force theme is in there, and like these kind of little pieces that are similar, but it is its own unique thing. John Williams kind of said before that he part of the reason he came back to do this series was because he wanted the opportunity to write Obi-Wan his own theme.
Oh, okay.
I think he called him Benny, though. Isn't that cute?
Oh, that is so cute.
Yeah. So he wanted to write Benny his
love
own
it.
theme.
Yeah.
And of course he didn't compose the music, but he scored it.
Oh, okay.
So
Yeah.
Anyway, so I have a question from Nito Burrito,
Nito burrito, yeah.
on Twitch. Do you think that in episode 4, when Obi-Wan kills that angry guy on Naboo, it meant that the fall of the Empire was coming when Jar Jar Binks frees his brother and kills the stormtroopers, but then explosions affected in episode 4, which we haven't seen yet, I don't think here's the thing, Nito Burrito. I don't know if Jar Jar is going to appear. In fact, we may never see Jar Jar ever again in Star Wars. I would go that far, because I just think they just don't want to acknowledge. They just don't want to bring that back. I know Ahmed Best is a really cool dude, and I'm not making like Jar Jar was a tough character. Okay, on a lot of levels, and I know there's the really fun theory that he's secretly a Sith Lord, which is hilarious. Of course.
Oh, I saw a Sith Jar Jar at Star Wars Celebration.
It
was great.
I'm sure there was multiple.
I only saw one.
First of all, I didn't know Jar Jar had a brother, so that's the other thing.
His brothers.
But Obi-Wan apparently has a brother.
Cool thing that we learned. Yes.
So is this like a little story element that they just want to just like, this is a character moment that he's having with Leia, and we need him have something to say? Or why, or is there more to it? Are we going to eventually meet Obi-Wan's brother? I feel like I don't ever need to meet Obi-Wan's brother for this all to work for me, but what do you think?
Yeah, I don't know. It'd be kind of interesting, because the thing I'm confused about when it comes to this sort of thing, so they take the younglings and then they never see their families again. But do they change their names or do they keep the same family name? So are there other Kenobis out there? Was he Obi-Wan Kenobi when he was a
I
kid?
think
and
they keep
took
their
him?
names. I mean, maybe we'll find out, by the way, in the that Legends of the Jedi
Yeah,
show,
or like, do
whatever
they
they're
give them a
called.
new name or something? So it's yeah. To me, I'm curious because then you'd think they could just go find their family again.
Well,
but they're taken so young that I guess it doesn't.
Count Dooku keeps his name. That's how when he leaves the Jedi Order, he goes back to take over his family business.
Family
Yeah, I mean
business?
that's what he does.
Oh, okay.
On his I can't remember the name of his planet. It's got a cool name, but
He's had so many names.
well, I'm trying to.
Count Dooku, Lord Tyrannus.
Yeah, but just like I'm just trying to think. Anyway, it doesn't matter. The point is, he knew at one point he ends up having to go back to his old planet, and he meets his brother. There's a whole there's
so
a
they
book
don't
about
change their
this.
names, is basically
I
what you're saying.
don't think they changed their names.
Oh, okay. Yeah, so I guess there's a whole family of Kenobis out there.
Yeah, but that just because you have one force sensitive kid doesn't mean all your kids are force sensitive.
No, that's true. Yeah, no, it's not. I don't think he has like a force sensitive brother or anything, but it's just like it's kind of just a cool little like tidbit.
Right.
I guess. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, it's nice to think that there's other Kenobis out there in the world.
Yeah,
sure.
I like the idea.
Okay, so they reached this okay, so we didn't finish this last piece about the Fortress Inquisitorius, which is that Reva is jostling with the other Inquisitors for power, and she thinks she's kind of like one up them by going over their heads to Vader, but by revealing that, she actually puts herself a little bit behind the eight ball a little bit. But I think I don't necessarily care really about the power struggle within the Inquisitors, really,
Not
because
really, no.
for one reason, like A1 is that they we know which Inquisitors are going to be around in like a couple years.
Yeah, I know.
And it's like only one of these, right? So
yeah,
it's like, okay, so that's one thing. So I know at least two of these are expendable.
Yeah.
Right.
That's so true.
And it's like who really cares when Vader's around? You know, that's the other kind of piece of it. But it's a kind of a fun. What I like about it is it feels like Star Wars. You got to have some sort of power struggle thing going on.
It's always the thing, right?
Dynamic.
Like with Sith, and they're always trying to betray each other.
Well,
and
Empire too.
Like it's right? Everyone. They're always out for themselves, and that's why. I don't know.
That's why they often fail.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
They're too power hungry, and I don't know. It's just funny. Of course, they're just that infighting. There always is.
Right. So anyway, we're done with that now. Obi-Wan gets to the spot where he's supposed to meet this. So he came to this planet originally because he was told that he'll meet someone who will help him, right? And he doesn't. He's like very jaded. Obviously, we talked about this already. So he doesn't believe that that's what's going to happen. So he gets to the spot. It's so funny. He's like, ugh, I knew there wouldn't be anyone here.
He's just immediately
he's like, and then he tells like Leia, he's like, no one's coming.
Yeah.
It's like, oh my God, you're being such a wiener.
Yeah. Maybe
but
they're just late. She's just like so.
Yeah, which is like
not everyone can be trusted or something, or not everyone's
good, which is what he says earlier.
That's what he says earlier. Sorry.
But like basically, she was right. They were late. If they just waited a little bit longer, it wouldn't have been a problem.
Yeah, exactly.
So anyway, so they leave and they end up meeting this this dude Freck, who's a trucker, played by Zach Braff, voiced by Zach Braff. And
weird.
Yeah, it is super weird.
That's so random.
There's always these random stars that come in and voice characters and they don't sound at all like them.
I didn't like the look of this guy. It bugged me.
You thought he looked like dumb?
No, because he looks like, what are they called? Star-faced mole rats? It's like a real thing.
Oh, really?
It's like a real animal, and that's what they look like. They have weird little, like,
well, are you gonna get annoyed about it because like there's a whole species called Mon Calamari in Star Wars?
No,
so.
I know. But they don't like I don't know. For some reason, this was the one part of the episode that kind of pulled me out. Yeah, because I didn't like the way his mouth moved. I didn't feel like his mouth moved well with the dialogue that it was. And I get it; it's hard because it's a weird-looking species.
It just felt like old school Star Wars to me. That like
it does, but it just really bugs me when the mouth movings of an alien doesn't really match.
Yeah, but like when they're in like a rubber suit, that's just what's going to happen.
No, but I feel like with the technology we have now, they could have better.
Maybe I think,
I don't know.
I think it's one of those examples where it's like intentionally like low tech.
I guess
where like sure they could have done this whole guy in CG and it would have looked weird or whatever, and they're just like, no, we'll just do this like the old school way, and we'll put a guy in a rubber suit, and no, it won't look exactly right.
Yeah.
But nothing in Star Wars looks exactly right.
That's
you know.
true. I don't know. I think it just is that it looked like a real creature, like a real one that we have here. Kind of was like, oh, they could have just made it look like a little, not like a Starface mole rat.
Right.
I'm pretty sure that's what they're called.
Okay, fair enough.
Yeah.
So they meet Freck, who seems nice but has this Imperial flag on his truck.
Yeah.
Little bootlicker he is.
Yeah.
And he's just like, oh, don't we love the Empire? And she's like, yeah, we love the Empire.
Yeah.
I love like just the way she says that is so funny.
Like,
Like,
we
yep,
love the Empire.
we are big fans of the Empire here. Never done nothing wrong. Can't wait for more Empire
Oh,
stuff.
that's so funny.
You know. And he's like, it's nice to meet like-minded people. And he's like, oh,
Yeah.
you little fucking weasel.
Makes me laugh. It kind of just reminds me of like when you have like opposing like political views with like family, and you're like,
Yes.
"Yep, I totally agree with you," because you just don't want to talk about it. You just
I would-
don't want to be.
I have a really hard
associated.
time saying I totally agree with you when what they're saying is completely batshit.
Oh,
So I
yeah.
can't. I really have.
No, I
I'm
know.
not good at that. So if you could teach me the ways, I don't know how to just.
It's usually just like, oh, okay, yeah, I get that. Where it's just
Yeah,
very like,
like,
I understand your point.
I'm-
But it's,
it's
like,
more
you
like
don't put
for
your
me,
own
it's
in.
more like you don't know what the hell you're talking about. I'm leaving.
You're like, okay, cool. Changing the subject now.
Okay, so take lessons on etiquette from her.
And Leia.
And Leia and C-3PO
Yep, we
and
love the
and
Empire.
not me. I would be terrible in this situation. But
Yeah.
Fucking pigs.
Yeah.
Okay, so they get in the truck and then what do you know? They pick up a bunch of stormtroopers
Yep.
and I thought this scene was great, very tense, right?
Mhm.
Leia comes up with this really quick story about because Obi-Wan's like struggling with his lies.
Yes. Yeah.
And she comes up with this really quick story about how he brought her there so that she could see where he first met his mom or whatever.
her mom. Yeah.
And it's like it's like a nice little story, but it's made up.
Yeah. Well, it's
and
nice, but it's sad enough that the stormtroopers won't like push it.
Right.
Like they're just like, oh, okay, yeah, it's a bummer. Like,
yeah, that is. It's like oh,
Yeah.
like that sucks, right?
Yeah.
But turns out these. What's really interesting, I find, is the version of stormtroopers we're getting now are very much portrayed as like crappy cops. They've always been kind of
Yes,
crappy cops,
yeah.
but now they really lean into the kind
They
of
do.
like power hungry, just being a dick because you have wearing a badge type
Yeah.
scenario.
Yeah.
And so that's really what they're doing here. And it's like, hey, we're looking for Jedi. You don't know anything about that, do you? And it's like, oh my god. It's like, no. It's like, well, nothing. You don't know nothing. If you see anything, you better let me know.
Yeah.
You know, that's what it sounds like.
Yeah,
It
it
just
does.
sounds like a big whiny babies.
Yeah.
So anyway, see, there's this nice moment where they trip up and he calls her Leia.
Yeah, because what did she say to them? She's like, "Do you even think there are any Jedi out here? Like, are
Yeah.
you sure they're even here?"
He's like, I think they know what they're doing, Leia.
Yeah.
And they're like, what did you say?
He's like, "Did you just call her Leia?"
Yeah, and I thought that was a little over the top. I thought it was like because it's like he's like, wait, what was that? What did you mean? What do you mean?
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, dude, chillax. And then I did by the way like
It's a great save.
the save that he's got
Mm.
there. It's like, oh, that was her mother's name, and then you get that great line of when he says like, I see her mother's face in her, and it's like,
yeah.
obviously there's a
Ugh.
couple allusions to Padme we've seen already so far.
Of course, yeah.
And so that's a truly touching
And you
moment.
can just tell that that's not like he's making this up, but that part's not a lie.
Exactly.
Like, and it's like that was her mother's name, and it's just
well,
like,
the best
oh,
lies are
yeah.
based in truth, right?
Yeah, and it's just like you can just see it in his face it's
Right.
true, and Leia sees that too. But
Yeah, so that satisfies these stormtroopers and they get off. And then they have their own little heart-to-heart. Leia asks about her mom. There's a funny thing, like, are you my dad?
yeah,
Right?
I giggled when he was like, "Sometimes I wish I was," or something like that.
He's like, I wish I could say I was. but
Yeah,
I'm not."
I giggled. I was like, he wants to bang Padme.
It's like, is that what you thought?
Because that's just how my brain works. I just giggled.
yeah, you're like, oh, I wish I could have bagged Padme.
Yeah, I know. I was like, I know that's not what he meant.
That is
but that
not
just
at
made
all
me
what he
laugh.
meant. That's funny
I
though.
know it's not. I just yeah.
That's good. So he talks about how, she asks if she remembers his family, and he talks about how he left them really early, become part of the Jedi, and he doesn't remember them.
Yeah.
He has these flashes, little bits. He sees his mother's shawl, things like that. It's similar to the way that Leia describes remembering her mom, by the way, in Return of the Jedi, which also is very confusing because she was a full-on baby,
Right, like
right?
a literal
An actual newborn
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 infant.
baby,
Probably
right?
can't even see yet.
Exactly. So either she's one of those miracle people that can like remember every moment of their life, in which case that's some sort of living hell that you're in, and I'm sorry.
Doesn't she say she just remembers like a warmth though? Isn't
No,
it more
she
like
says she remembers little bits,
Oh,
but like
okay.
so like I
Yeah.
don't know what that means. Maybe from Hollows or maybe
Yeah.
Obi-Wan. Maybe
Well, it
they
could be
can.
a Force thing.
Who knows? Yeah, exactly. It's just the Force.
It's the Force.
That's not how the Force works.
Yeah.
Right. So who knows? But
Yeah.
it's a really similar way the way he describes it. But
Mhm.
he does talk about his brother. We talked about that already a little bit. It's nice. We've never really explored Obi-Wan's past in that way. So it was a little surprising hearing him talk about his family. But I liked it. You know.
Yeah, me too. Thought it was kind of neat.
So they get to a like checkpoint and they have to cross a gate, and surprise, surprise, Freck turns out to be a little snitch. And so he puts his Jedi hood on. I love that, by the way, when he puts the hood up in the truck, it's like, oh, shit's about to go down.
Mm-hmm.
But I was like really hoping, like, it's like he just really doesn't want to use his lightsaber. And it's like,
No,
I
he
understand, I guess, to some degree, but like there's by the point he shoots the Viper droid,
Yes,
it's
you
like
think you should have
whip it out.
Yeah.
You know, like
Like,
no one
do
else is around.
double
Like you got to
wielding
kill
at
all
that
these people
point.
anyway. So
Yeah.
it's like let's get on with it, right?
Yeah.
But I guess like lightsaber strikes leave a very specific type of like
Oh yeah,
dead
I guess
body.
so you're
right?
just trying to.
Although one
not-
guy gets cut in half anyway.
Yeah, so you could just
you know,
thrown him over the
yeah,
thing.
right. Pretty gruesome. The guy getting
That
caught
was
in half.
gruesome. I was like, oh, okay, Disney.
And, like
There's a few points in this episode
I-
that I was like, oh, okay, they're just going for
I
it.
like
so.
that they were willing to go for it.
Yeah,
personally.
me too.
So he puts up his hood. He shoots the Viper droid in the face. There's a shootout. There's some pretty cool stuff, by the way. His little like I'm putting the gun down, and
Yeah.
then shoots the guy.
Yeah.
Pretty ballsy. He's got Leia
yeah.
at gunpoint, right? So anyway, that all goes just fine. They end up clearing out the stormtroopers. When they're about to cross the gate, another troop carrier comes, and then they think they're done.
Mm-hmm.
But then surprise. Turns out the Imperial commander or sergeant or whatever is on the good side and shoots them all.
Yeah.
Very convenient. Did you like that? By the way, I really like this girl.
I
think
like
she's
her too.
cool.
Well, she's in
From Game of
Thrones, which is like it's funny because she's oh my god, Mando, but real name.
What? Oh,
The actor.
yes. You're making me.
I know.
blank on it
I'm
now.
blanking.
You're sucking the knowledge out of my brain.
I don't know why am I blanking on this. This is insane. But she plays
Tamora Morrison.
No.
No. Oh, Mando. Oh.
Mando.
Oh. Sorry. Yes.
You're a terrible Star Wars.
Yeah. No, I'm bad at
right
this.
now.
But anyway, you're right. He's from Chile. Is it?
Yeah, but she plays his wife in.
Yes.
actor. Like,
Yes.
they're
yes. Yes. And
together
they're
on Game
both
of
on Game of Thrones, and they're
Yes.
both very good. Indira Varma's the actor.
Yeah.
The actress's name here. She plays Tala here, and I think her like British accent is like perfect as like a fake Imperial, and I like her look. I like her kind of the way she carries herself it all very much fits with the Empire stuff.
Pedro Pascal.
Pedro Pascal. Thank you
Yeah.
for Googling that.
Yeah, I was like, I feel so bad that my brain.
My
just,
girlfriend just watched the first
pulled it
season
out of my brain.
of Mando, and when he takes his helmet off, he looks so dirty.
Oh yes,
The
yes.
first because he's like all beaten up and like burnt
Mhm.
up and dying, and he's like his mustache and stuff.
Yeah, he's all sweaty.
She was like, really? That's what he looks like? That's what she was like. She's like, I thought he'd look way cooler than that.
Yeah.
I was like, I kind of thought the same thing.
I was like, we've talked about this that he's hotter with his helmet on.
Yes, please keep it on.
Yeah. But yeah, no, but I liked her casting. I think she's a great actor. I think she did really
Yeah, she's
well
really
in this
layered
role.
here. She's like
I
there's
like
this
her,
brief
yeah.
second where she comes off the ship and she looks like she's an Imperial
Mhm.
officer, and then next she's got this kindness to her. The way she interacts with Leia is really heartwarming.
Yeah.
Although it's weird how often Obi-Wan and her leave her on her own.
Yeah.
It's like,
Yeah, I know,
what do you
right?
mean go off on, like, you should save her.
Yeah.
I got this. It's like, no, you're a 10-year-old kid. I'm not leaving
Mhm.
you. What do you mean? Anyway,
It's a small
it.
child.
but listen, the script said
It's
so.
Star Wars.
Yeah.
Fend for yourself when you're a kid.
That's right. So where were we? Oh, we cut back to the Inquisitors. They're bickering again. They figured out where he is. And so they're locking down the planet. We cut back to this little town, this village that they're in, and you get the shot of this dirty stormtrooper walking around. I love a good dirty stormtrooper.
Yeah.
You know, when their armor's not quite clean.
Mm-hmm.
It's just something about that just makes the world feel more lived in.
Not as shiny.
Yeah. The planet's on lockdown, like I said. There's this really cool shot of like it looks kind of like, I don't know what they're called. I think they're the U-wings. Maybe not. They're like this Imperial transport ships from Rogue One.
Oh, okay.
You get to see it when leaving this like I guess docking bay. That's where they're trying to go, I suppose. But
Gotcha.
it's cool to see that ship from Rogue One with Obi-Wan, where we hadn't kind of had that connection before. This kind of Ewan McGregor, Obi-Wan with these Imperial trappings around. There's something. It really works for me.
Mm-hmm.
Just put him next to a stormtrooper and a TIE fighter, and you're like, wow, that's cool.
Yeah.
Right? But you just give me the action figures, basically.
Yeah, I get that. Oh, you would have liked, there was a giant TIE fighter at Star Wars.
That was cool. Like a real
huge.
size?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was like the size of a house.
Was there an X-Wing there?
No.
I feel like the TIE fighters are cooler when they're that big anyway.
It was really cool.
I really want I think I want the Lego set for the light armor transport.
Okay.
The clone trooper machine.
Yes. Yeah.
I really want one of those.
Mm-hmm.
And I want like a bust. I want one of those like really detailed busts. What?
I thought you said bus, like B-U-S.
I want a bus. Yeah, I want a Star Wars bus.
Wars bus?
Yeah, that'd be sweet. No, one of those like statues, but like
yeah.
You know what I mean? Like hyper detailed ones of like one of the clones or something like that.
They were really cool.
Yeah.
They were like so expensive. Every single one is like $900.
little bit more out of a little outside my price range.
Yeah.
And if it's just gonna sit behind me out of focus, I can save a few bucks.
Yeah, it's true.
Okay, so they hide in this droid. There is this brief moment where Obi-Wan has to assure Leia that getting caught wasn't her fault. It's kind of just this nice moment of Obi-Wan having to kind of be nice to Leia for the first time this episode, you know?
Yeah.
And so anyways, they hide in this droid maintenance factory or shop. There's a safe house there. They meet the loader droid. His name is Ned B. I love the little cute little introduction Leia makes to
yeah, she's like, this is Lola. Yeah.
That's really nice.
LOLA 59 or something.
Yeah. And like I like how he can't speak, and there's this little moment. He's like, "What, did you have something to say?"
Oh,
right?
yeah.
And then her. By the way, I love quick without it. Just right on the beat. Tala basically saying, actions speak louder than words.
Yeah.
Which is like these little sayings that kind of really work. They're memeable later.
Oh yes, yeah.
So turns out this Jedi safe house is part of the Path. Have you heard of this before? Is this something that's in any of the books or the comic books or anything?
Not that I picked up on.
Yeah, this is new to me as well.
Yeah, I mean, I don't. No, not really.
Yeah, I don't know. It's hard to say.
Like there's people in these like in other books called like Pathfinders or Wayfinders or like there's always but it's always kind of in reference to like going through hyperspace.
Right. Yeah. So anyway, this is like a secret underground railroad type scenario, right? And the Empire is hunting everyone who's force sensitive. They don't know what happens to them. I mean, I think we have a pretty good idea of what happens to them, right?
Right.
They're either killed or they become an inquisitor of some kind or whatever.
Yeah.
Or they're used for their blood.
Mm-hmm.
Or something.
To make creepy Palpatine clones.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah.
So that's what's going on. So they're saying that they're not only just hiding Jedi, but also other force sensitive people and children. And that's where we find that reference to Quinlan Vos.
It's cool that we know that he's still helping her too, because she's like, oh yeah, he helps out from time to time. Mostly with, younglings.
It just means that he's around, which is nice, because he's a Jedi that I feel like we didn't get enough chance to explore. Yeah,
he looks so cool, and I think everyone really likes the idea of him.
I feel like less is more with Quinlan Vos. That's my...
there's some stuff with him in some of the books, I think, and where he gets a little bit more dialogue.
He has a whole book with Ventress.
Yeah, that's what right, because they're together, aren't they?
They're like an item.
They have a kid together.
Yeah, I don't know if they have a kid. I don't know for sure.
Yeah,
don't quote me on
that.
But... Anyway, so they are, and they're hiding out here. There's these couple nice moments. Anyway, this kind of line that Quinlan has carved in this saying. It says, "Only when your eyes are closed can you truly see," which is really cool. it doesn't seem like the thing that Quinlan Voss would. I keep saying I want to say Vaughn, but Voss would write. He doesn't seem like the type that's like a philosopher of that way. But like, I guess when times are tough, you kind of gotta find hope where you can.
Right. Yeah.
So that's kind of cool.
Yeah, I thought of like a meditation too. Like when they like do their Jedi meditation, it's like it's a good way to kind of gain where you are again and gain your footing again.
I also get the impression that it's like the Jedi's eyes have been closed because and now you as an individual are no longer blinded by these Jedi teachings necessarily, the dogma. Right. You can follow your own force. That's kind of how I interpreted it.
Okay.
With the dark times of the Empire brings clarity to your purpose. So there's this tense moment where stormtroopers are searching the shop. The loader droid has like carrying a hammer behind his head.
Yeah,
his
I
back.
like that.
Really cool. Just ready to
action speaking louder than
words. Ready to just beat the shit out of him.
I love that too because the Stormworker's like the one he's kind of trying to interrogate him and he's not answering. The other one's like he's just a loader. He doesn't understand.
Yeah.
Like, but it's like he understands. Like
he just can't. He just can't speak to you.
Yeah, it's like he gets why you're there, and he understands quite well. But I did want to see him just smack one of them for sure, though.
Right. Yeah. I love when. I mean, this is from Mando season 1, but when you break the armor, there's like a puff of dust that they have. It's like, we get a lot more of that. So they have to move up the timeline because I guess all the lockdown stuff means that there's more people looking for them.
Right.
And there's this really cool line where Leia asks Tala, "What is it worth it having to pretend all the time?"
Oh yeah, she says, "Is it scary?"
Right.
Having to pretend or something like that.
Yeah. And I love her answer, which is that like yes, because it is, but it's worth it because it lets me help people. And ultimately, like Leia has to go through it the rest of her life pretending that she's a senator, quote unquote, right? Yeah. When she's really a rebel leader. Yeah. Right. So, but it allows her to help people. So there's like, and then even she says it here. It's like she'll be a good fighter one day, and she's like, "Well, you teach me to shoot," know, which of course we get, in the shoot, flyboy. Yeah. Okay, so Obi-Wan senses Vader. Now he has you're this moment where he goes like, "Whoa," and you hear the sound that low bassy sound that they make for the Force, and it's very similar. I think I don't know if you've seen the memes online or the on Twitter or whatever, but of the face that Ahsoka makes when she senses Vader for the first time.
Oh no!
Versus his face, they're very similar. This like wide eye, like
the wide eye.
This feeling of like. Of terror, of cold, that they seem to feel.
Yeah.
And I'm like, at the time, I'm like, he senses Vader. Like that's like the first thing I said.
Of course, yeah.
And then like that, they kind of wait a couple like beats before they reveal his shadow. And I was like, oh, am I wrong? And no, I wasn't wrong.
No, of course it is. Yeah.
Right.
And I like it because I think it's them also realizing that, like, especially with when Ahsoka gets that feeling. Yeah. To me, it's like. She's realizing it's Anakin.
Right, and he already knows it's Anakin.
Yeah, and they're feeling both. Like, they're feeling that it's Anakin, and then they're feeling that, like, how dark it is now.
Right.
How far gone he is. So it's that, like, that kind of sickening feeling, right? It's like, ugh.
Well, the thing is, like, I guess Obi-Wan didn't know what he looked like at this point yet.
Right, yeah, I guess so, because he hasn't actually run into him yet.
Yeah. So we first see him in like his shadow, his silhouette. Even it's nighttime, we still get a shadow of him. And we get the shiny helmet and the perfect silhouette again. I love that what they did with the shots here is very good. There's the music is great, but there's this brief moment where the music cuts out when you think that he looks like directly at him, which is super cool.
Yeah,
like through the window, and he can't tell for sure if he's there. But so he sends them off. He sends off Leia and Tala, which is like another one of those things. Like no, why? It's like I guess. If you can sense him, you could follow him.
Yeah,
I suppose,
that's what I got because it's like
to send him off the trail.
To me, it was just more of a definitely that like he's sending them off because he knows that like Anakin Vader is going to be able to feel him and sense him. So he's like, it's not safe for them to be with him because it's like he's a target, right?
Right.
So yeah, it's this whole scene is just so creepy.
It's so violent. It's absolutely violent.
It's because he's trying to drag him out. And
he was trying to pull him out. He's saying like, listen, I'm going to hurt all these people if you don't come out. And Obi-Wan knows
without
that.
Even saying anything, like it's just like, he basically kills that woman's whole family in front of her.
Yes,
like it's awful.
Oh, the neck snap.
I was
really
not expecting
bad.
that, and I was just like, like you're just like, oh man. I'm like Obi-Wan having to watch that and see that, and he can't do anything. And you're waiting for him to stop him, but he doesn't.
Yeah.
And it's heartbreaking, right? It's hard to see Obi-Wan not be able to do something, not being able to help those people.
Well, he's still in that phase where he's like, oh, the Obi-Wan's no longer here. It's Ben, and all that kind of stuff. So it's like he's kind of feels like at some way come to terms with the fact that he can't do anything. He has a greater purpose, and he has to endure these sufferings, but he can't do anything. And so, but knowing that Anakin is doing the torturing here makes it that much worse, right?
Worse, yeah.
I love, I was talking about the way Vader moves. Vader moves in such a very specific way here.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's very, very good. The way that the cameras are positioned very low make Vader seem very big and imposing and scary. Everything about it, the sound design, the music, all of it. The sequence is just very. The first time Obi-Wan sees Vader's got to be something cool, and I think it works.
It's everything. It's heartbreaking. It's horrifying. Like, he's so imposing, and you can tell Obi-Wan's actually like scared, and it's just that feeling of like helplessness, and like they did such a good job of this being the first time that Obi-Wan sees what Anakin's actually become, and it's not just about what he looks like. It's just about that he's just cold and dead inside, and just he's gone. Like there's no Anakin there anymore. I love this sequence. I don't love so there's the lightsaber fight, right? Yeah.
But there's something lame about the setting of just this like mine site,
Oh, okay.
big piles of rocks around,
big piles of sand.
Yeah, and like. Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. He's like, oh, got it. Not the sand again.
Yeah.
I
thought it looked cool.
I don't know. It was just very like to me. It seemed like they just went and found the nearest mine site that they could, and then just set up a couple cameras in a light, and we're like, that's what we're gonna, and this is how we're gonna shoot. That's how it felt to me. It looked good in some parts, but felt a little cheaper in other parts.
I just thought it looked cool because it was so dark, and then like how bright the lightsabers were, and like how they were reflecting off the ground and off everything around them, and like
that's true. That was pretty cool.
It looked really cool. Like I just liked. I don't know. Again, I think you can get some really cool like artwork from that, and good shots from that because of like how dark it is and their silhouettes and like how bright their lightsabers were.
Well, the thing is, there was not like their silhouettes aren't really.
You get those big like pot. I don't know what you call them, like the big work lights.
Yeah.
Bits like I don't know.
I don't know. I did just like something about the setting didn't have the grandeur that I wanted for the first time that they fought it. There's gonna be another fight.
Another one.
There's gonna be another fight. I get that. So maybe it's on purpose. It's like set your expectations low now, and then we'll just blast them out of the water
later.
That's
the thing, because like Vader's like basically kicking Obi-Wan's ass. Like
it's not even close.
It's weak, and it's like Obi-Wan looks weak, and it looks like obviously we know Vader.
He's not even doing as good of a job as Luke was when he was like completely untrained.
And you can just see how like basically withdrawn from the Force Obi-Wan is, and how like beat down.
And he's super scared, right? I mean, the first time he sees Vader, we get this moment where it's kind of like a jump scare when he lights his lightsaber up. Very cool, by the way.
Yes. At first, I was like, "Oh, is this real or is this like a vision? Like, is he actually seeing them?"
It's just so awesome. I didn't like. So, and you think he's gonna pull out his lightsaber and he's gonna do his like stupid finger pose or something?
No.
And no, he just runs away. And I think I like it from a character perspective, but it just it looks so funny to see him go.
See, I didn't think it looked funny to me. It was it's kind of heartbreaking because you're like this. He's not the same Obi-Wan, and this isn't the same Anakin. It's like they're two really terrible versions of what, like not terrible in Obi-Wan's thing, but it's not that Obi-Wan that we want just yet. But then I think there's going to be that redemption, and there's going to be of him.
Yes,
like we got to. You
got to start low so if you can build someone back up.
Yes.
You can't be there already.
We're gonna get that redemption of seeing Obi-Wan in his full glory again, and him hopefully able to defeat Vader and just be like, no, you are not.
That's. Last time Vader, he says, "When I left you, you were the master, and I was the
apprentice."
Right,
yeah.
and it's
like we need to see that.
How that has to still happen, otherwise it doesn't make any sense.
Yeah,
right.
Well, and he is an apprentice. He's an apprence to Palpatine now. He's never.
But he was still an apprentice at that point, anyway.
Yeah,
later on. But I will say though, despite how I think funny it is that he runs away, but true to character at this point. He's kind of running like Alec Guinness. He's kind of got this kind of like dainty little run. And it's so funny to me. I love it. I'm a big fan of it.
Yeah.
So they use this shaky cam stuff as he's kind of like with his lightsaber, his blue lightsaber. And by the way, this is the other thing. It's like the first time Vader lights up his lightsaber, very cool.
Yes,
right?
yeah.
And then you get that other cool shot of him lighting it in the jump scare. But we've been waiting all these episodes for Obi-Wan to light up his lightsaber, light it up, light it up. And then the first time he lights it up, he's by himself.
Yeah.
And he's just like, and it's like I get it. Again, it's true to character for where we are right now. But if you're just from a pure iconography standpoint, I would have liked a little bit more grandeur to the first time Obi-Wan turns his lightsaber on. He's not alone,
right.
and kind of hiding,
Yes, yeah.
So that's just my small critiques. I understand why they're being done, but it's just something about it just doesn't. Maybe in full context of the show later, it'll work for me better. So again, just this is the first time we get to see the lightsaber pop. So even people have been waiting for that. There you go. We get the shaky cam again, which they've used a couple times throughout the episode. I think it's way too shaky for Star Wars. They don't typically do that type of handheld photography, and instead, we're typically used to very, these white pans and all these like very steady and old school almost filmmaking styles, and then this is bringing in this like shaky cam handheld like Jason Bourne thing, and it doesn't work for me.
I didn't notice it as much, and usually that's something that will really bother me. So,
all right, fair enough.
Yeah, I didn't.
I hope I didn't ruin it for you.
I was just probably like too into what was happening for me to pay attention. But you're better with the camera, like.
Well, I just like watching seeing how it's made is interesting. So, this part where he lights up his lightsaber. This is what I was talking about earlier about him being afraid. This is he truly is terrified of Vader at this point.
Yes. Yeah.
And it's all of his fears, I think, coming together at once. That if he fails here, he fails Leia. He'll fail Luke. More failure, right? And he's just afraid of failing more and more and more, more than he already has, which is a lot.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
So anyway, I just thought the Ewan McGregor's work here is very good. So they finally face off, and you get this great line where he says, "What have you become?" And Vader's response is, "I am what you made me," which is very, very cool.
Yes, yeah.
Obviously has a lot of, there's a lot of layers to that. But apparently Vader's voice is James Earl Jones and Hayden Christensen's voice layered over top of each other.
Oh, really?
But I don't really hear Hayden Christensen at all. I mean, James Earl Jones' very booming voice obviously overtakes it.
I was trying to pick that up because they do that in Rebels.
Yeah, but only when his mask opens
When his
up.
mask opens, but I liked that because you can kind of get that crossover, and I like that. Yeah, I don't.
But you don't really hear it here.
I'll have to listen harder.
I mean,
watch it again later.
I listened for it specifically this time after hearing about that, and if it's true, I don't hear it. Is what I'm saying. But what do you make of this line? "I am what you made me."
Well, I don't know. I feel like Anakin or Vader is kind of he's blaming Obi-Wan. He always kind of has blamed Obi-Wan for everything about, he turns.
Which makes no sense because it's like, you just like, you turned her against me.
Her against me. And it's like he's always, he's just blaming him. He won't take responsibility for any of the shit that he's done.
Well, of course it makes no sense. Obviously it's his own fault. So he's trying to find someone to blame. Yeah. Right? He needs someone to blame.
Even this. And it's like, I am what you made me. And I think he means more of like, the monster, right? It's like, oh, well, you
cut my legs
off my arm, and you burned me, like you made me this angry. You
should have killed me when you had the chance. You should have
killed me. Which is like, I'm curious whether that's like
that line reading wasn't my favorite, by the way. That's my least favorite Vader line reading.
But I wonder,
you should have killed me when you had the chance.
I feel like there's like two meanings to that, though. Maybe a little bit, like, and maybe not. I don't know. Maybe looking too deep into it, but it's kind of like a. Because I'm gonna kill you now, but also like you should have just killed me, and then like none of this would happen.
I wouldn't have to be suffering.
Yeah, I wouldn't be here.
I don't know if that's. I mean,
probably
you can certainly read it that way. I don't know if Vader's in that mind space.
No, I don't think Vader is, but it's
Also, do you love the little steam pipe move from Empire Strikes Back that Obi-Wan pulls here?
Yeah,
and then runs away. Yeah, I like
great.
that. Yeah. Any other thoughts on the lightsaber fight?
Like. We're going to see more, like, and I think we're going to see a better one. I don't think this one was meant to be
it can't
like the grandiose one because it's stiff, and I think it's meant to be like Vader's stiff because his big suit and all.
Well,
that stuff,
he's like does that thing where he kind of stands in one spot and moves just his arm,
slashes. He just and Obi-Wan's just more like defense, like he's just
but he's always been very much defense. But here he is like literally falling on his butt.
Yeah, but it's like he's weak, like he's not. He
Right.
like we said, he's closed himself.
I think he's
off,
also.
and
I think Vader's also playing with him a bit.
I don't
here.
think he's like fully trying to kill him, because then he says like, "Bring him to me." Like he wants
Right.
to torture him. He doesn't want to
Yes.
just kill him.
Yeah, that'd
Like,
be too
it's-
easy.
yeah,
It's too. It's,
no.
yeah, that's fair.
Not Vader, not now. It's like he's gonna keep Obi-Wan and probably torture him forever if he could get the chance.
Right.
Yeah.
So I'll mention a little bit more on that lightsaber fight in a second, but we
Mhm.
cut back to Reva, who has figured out where the tunnel is. I don't know how she figures this out. Just, I guess.
That like thing is like a skew. It's like that typical like, oh, that looks.
Yeah,
Not
but like, why'd she
lined
go
up,
in
but
there in the
yeah,
first place?
I
don't know. Whatever. It doesn't matter. She figures
Force
it out.
sensitive? I don't know.
It has to be that, right?
Yeah.
So, and she finds the tunnel, and the thing is, we cut back to this tunnel like a couple times, including the time when Tala leaves Leia by
Yeah,
herself again,
yeah,
which is
what the
super
hell?
dumb.
Yeah.
And I don't understand how Reva makes it to the other end of the
Okay.
tunnel without.
I was thinking about this.
Yeah.
That bothered me too. I was like, how did Tala get out without
Yeah, and
encountering
then
Reva?
and they keep switching. It's like the
but
wackiest tunnel you've ever seen.
I don't think
There's got to be other exits.
I don't think that's what it is. I think Reva sees the tunnel, and I think she knows where it ends.
Uh-huh.
And I think she doesn't go down it. I think she goes around to where the
Right.
pilot, because she goes and kills the
That's
pilot.
the only way that.
That's what makes sense to me,
yeah.
because that's the way that Tala gets out, and then that's how Reva's at the end without running into any.
Feels
of
like there's
them.
just one scene missing where we could see her
Yeah.
turning and going the other way instead of going into the
would've-
tunnel. Would have made that much more clear.
Would have made it more clear, but that's kind of what I was thinking after. I was like, oh, you know what? I bet she kind of just figured out where it was leading, just from where it was.
Sure, I
pointing,
mean she's
and
already
then was
figured
like,
out
oh, okay,
everything else
yeah,
out
like,
already.
It's
Yeah.
obviously the whatever, like the loading bay or loading
Yeah.
box, and then goes there and kind of figures. That's kind of what I thought. Other than that, or maybe there's just other tunnels, other exits.
Right. Yeah, that has to be. I just thought it was like, this is the wackiest tunnel I've ever seen. This is the most.
It's like, how
the most
many exits
convenient-
are there?
This is the most script convenient tunnel you ever had.
Mm,
It lets people in one end, but then people can exit without ever having to see the people that are in the tunnel.
yeah.
It's great. So anyway, like I said, the lightsaber fight was, I think it was okay. I
Mhm.
liked most of the visuals of the actual fight itself and the moves.
Mhm.
Obviously the dialogue is cool. Very there's minimal, which is great.
Yes.
But we get this moment where Vader lights this coal or whatever it is that I don't know what it's called, on
Yeah.
fire, and then drags Obi-Wan through it. And despite the fact that, again, I just get amused by the funniest little things. You have this really
Yeah.
scary character like Vader, but he has to squat down to light the things on fire.
Yeah.
And I just think that's so funny. I don't know why, because you'd think we
Again, I
could do
didn't
some
notice
sort
that.
of cool slash move, but he's just
Yeah.
eh.
Yeah.
And so he turns it on, lights the fire on, turns the barbecue on, and I just thought, wow, what a cool idea! I would have never thought of that. He just really wants
Yeah.
him to experience the same pain
Mhm.
that he went through,
Yeah.
right?
Oh, then I was like, maybe this is why he looks so much older later. Cause it's
I mean,
like, it's all
maybe,
burned. I don't
right? His
know.
hair's all turned. I mean, he actually doesn't look that bad after.
No, he doesn't. It looks like it's just kind of like his one arm and
Yeah.
side. But yeah, I was just like, oh fuck, like it just it broke my heart. Like it's just like he's screaming and you're just like, oh man, like it was a little hard to watch. I won't lie.
Yeah, it was, but it's exactly what the show needed at this point.
Yes.
And I got to give the show, by the way, credit. It's like, you're only 6 episodes. You can't dilly-dally around with
no.
Vader. You bring him in kind of a big way in episode 3.
Yeah.
And I think he's going to be a big presence for the rest of the series. So I just appreciate the show not kind of holding all of its stuff into the very end, which is a lot of these other Star Wars shows seem to have done, and it's very annoying.
True.
So this is as refreshing in that way. But yeah, so the way this sequence ends, though, is a little funky. Not my favorite. Where he's torturing him, you get Tala come up and do a little sniper move, right? Because he puts the fire out, and he's like, "Okay, go get him. I'm ready for him to put him in handcuffs or whatever."
Yeah.
And then Tala snipes that guy. Pretty cool shot, actually.
Yeah.
And both literally and figuratively. And then Vader just looks over there and is like, huh. And then she lights the fire again,
Yeah,
and then
like,
uses the
shoots
loader
more
droid
Yeah.
to
Go
save
scoop him.
Obi-Wan. And it's like, couldn't you just like walk around? Like, why did you like just walk
Yeah,
around?
I know. I was thinking the same. I'm like, there's just like sand on each side. You think they could just kind of like
They just walk around.
Yeah, like scoot up.
Or
but-
like you got to think that his suit's got to be fireproof, at this point. Or maybe he's just
Yeah.
afraid of fire. That's the other thing. I was like, maybe he can't go over there because he's afraid of the fire.
Vader, even though he built his castle
right?
on
Yeah,
lava.
You're right. That's true. That's true.
He has a
I was
lava
a
castle,
stretch. It was a
but-
stretch.
No, I get it.
But
I think it's just I don't know what obviously they have to let Obi-Wan get away, and I think they're Vader's letting him, and I think he's like, I don't know. At this point, maybe he's just thinking, "I'll get him again. Like I'll find him again."
Yeah, which
I
is
don't
funny
know, who
because
knows,
the exact moment when after that sequence, the fifth brother,
Mhm.
who's played by Sung Kang, who by the way, who is the coolest dude.
Oh yeah, he does a
from
really
Fast and
good
Furious.
job. Okay,
Yeah.
I don't.
He
watch those
is
movies.
Han from Fast and Furious. He's
Okay.
the best. Anyway, he plays the fifth brother here, and he's like, "Oh, now we'll never find him."
Yeah.
That's like
It's
the
he's
next
still
line,
on the planet.
right?
Yeah.
But yeah, it seems like Vader is just kind of just like he was content to get that a bit of torture in.
Yeah.
Now back to the hunt.
Now back to that.
you
And
know?
I think he kind of likes the hunt too. I don't
Yeah.
know. I think to him, he was like, that fight with Obi-Wan didn't satisfy
Wasn't
him
satisfying.
enough.
Yeah.
Like I think he wants to fight him again. He's like, no, he's like, I'm gonna let him crawl away and know that I beat him, know how scared he was of me,
Right.
and then I'll get him again. Right.
Yeah, I think
So,
that's fair. I think
yeah.
that's what
Vader
I would
just
do
likes
if I
to
was
toy
Anakin.
with people. Like he's
Yeah.
he's so confident at this point that he just, I don't know. There's some really cool like things in some of the comics of Vader, and like
Mhm.
he's just like there's a bunch of like there's like 20 rebel troops surrounding him. They're like, we have them
Right.
surrounded, and then he's just like basically
It's
gives them a
like
chance.
good
to,
odds,
like,
right.
Yeah, he's like basically gives them a chance. I'll give you a chance now to like leave, or you all will die, and then he like kills them all.
Yeah,
it's just like
This is peak Vader. I think they
Yeah.
talked about this before the show. The showrunner is basically saying like, how badass he was in Rogue One. Like he's been at that point.
yes.
At this point in the show as well, so we're going to see, and we did get to see that. It is
Oh yeah, he's just
awesome,
ruthless.
brutal. Although here's the thing, they quote unquote escape, they lose him, but like the next shot of Obi-Wan is like them in that same like mine site. So it's like I don't know how they
know.
lost him so easily, but again, it's what the script needed, so
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
whatever. But they need to get him to Jabim. By the way, Jabim is a planet that has a ton of extended universe stuff. I was just reading the Wikipedia on it.
Okay.
But in terms of like official canon, this is just the planet they mentioned earlier, where the final destination of the Path, where the Jedi and other Force sensitives
okay.
receive new identities from anti-imperial network. So
Cool.
that's sounds like that's what we're gonna see next. Maybe we'll see Quinlan Vos. Maybe we'll see other Jedi.
That'd be cool. Yeah.
I don't think they'll show us him, but maybe we'll get an actual other Jedi. We've only seen one other one in here, and he ended up
Yeah.
being hung.
Yeah.
So
Bummer.
that sucks. Anyway, so the episode ends with Reva capturing Leia.
Yes.
And pretty cool little scene. But what did you? Any final thoughts on this episode?
Not really. Like I think we honestly covered everything. Like I enjoyed it. I don't know. This one was just a lot more, I think, kind of heartbreaking a little bit. Like it's just sad. It's so sad to see Obi-Wan like so defeated and so kind of negative.
Well, and it just seems like he's like not only is he like negative, like big negative Nancy,
yeah,
but
I
also
get it. It's like
but also be completely helpless against Vader.
Yeah,
And
like
it
it's hard
Yeah.
because it's like he just would dominate it throughout all of the Clone Wars with Anakin,
right.
and now he doesn't have Anakin anymore, and Anakin's turned into this.
Well, don't worry.
monster.
He's gonna. Here's the
it's-
chance. Here's what happens next.
He's gonna redeem.
We're either gonna get the Qui-Gon moment, and that's gonna give him his ability to
Yes,
reconnect with the
yes.
Force,
That's what I'm.
or
thinking,
because it's both could happen.
Mm-hmm.
Because he's injured, he's gonna end up in a bacta tank, and just like in
Ah.
Boba Fett,
Yeah.
it's just gonna be all flashbacks,
All
for
flashbacks,
that
yep.
episode, right?
Yeah.
And it's just gonna be him and moments from the Clone Wars with him and Anakin and Ahsoka. Because I think at one point I feel like they teased that she might be on the series.
Oh, really? Okay.
But it's hard to say. And then so that kind of stuff is possible. I just want that because I want to see
yeah.
Hayden get another chance at playing Anakin.
Me too. Yeah, I do too.
Kind of with better dialogue.
Better
maybe.
dialogue. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Me too. Poor guy.
Okay, well, I think that basically does it. I'm still very
Yeah.
stoked about this episode. I
Me
know
too.
people came out and been like, "Whoa, it's the craziest thing." I don't know. I liked the first 2 episodes more than episode 3,
Ooh,
but I
don't
did
know. I
like the
liked
Vader stuff
all of
a
them.
lot.
The
So,
Vader stuff was just so good, and like I said,
yeah.
I love the way those lightsabers looked. I was pumped. The
Well,
whole
yeah,
time.
and that's the thing. It's like
Oh,
the
it's so good.
the from a canon perspective, the next time we see Vader is in Rebels, and the Vader design in Rebels is
Yeah.
it's just a little lacking.
Oh,
It's,
is it? You think it's lacking? I like that
you like
Vader
that?
scene.
You like? Well, I mean, the scene is cool, but
Yeah.
I'm just saying that he looks so perfect here, and then
Yes.
in Rebels he's kind of stretched out. He's a little elongated,
Mm.
and they've got those really skinny lightsabers.
Oh, sorry. When you said Rebels, I was thinking Rogue One. I was like,
Oh,
what?
no, no,
Like,
no, no, no,
yeah,
no, no, no,
I
no.
get it. Yeah,
Yeah.
everyone hates the Rebels, like the way
The
he
look, I would
looks.
just just remake it
But
in the Clone Wars style, and we'd all
That's
be
what
happier.
makes me laugh about people being so mad about the Inquisitor because of
They're
how he
so
looks
silly
in Rebels.
looking.
And I was like, okay, but like, have you seen Dooku in like
Yeah,
Rebel
that's
and
true.
like any of those
I
like
th-
animated
yeah.
series and how long his head is? And
Yeah,
like,
but it's about like capturing the essence of what they're trying to go with
Yeah,
the character,
Clone
and
Wars
like
sort
I
of.
don't think they
No, I
do a
know.
good
It's-
job of capturing
and we've
that
seen
essence.
those like we have seen that species in live action.
Well, we've seen
So-
humans in live action too, and the live action Rebels humans are pretty bad.
Yes, yeah.
So, I get it. I understand like the constraints that Lucas film animation was under at
Yeah.
the time, but listen, we all have little things that we want from Star Wars. One of the things that I would love, because I think Rebels is really good, it would be for it to be look a lot prettier. It'd be much more approachable because the story of Rebels is actually
It's
very
great.
good.
I love Rebels.
Yeah.
But
So that is it.
can't wait for next week.
Lots to cover next week, and I'm sure more references to Star Wars Celebration will come up.
Because I remember them.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I'll just do the the usual.
Yeah.
Help us support the show. Head over to Patreon, patreon.com/TowerBabblecast. Makes a big difference. Helps keep the lights on. We just had to renew our podcast connection service that we use. That's not cheap. So that kind of stuff makes a big difference. It really makes our lives a lot easier. So again, patreon.com/TowerBabblecast. Follow us on Twitter. That's your best way of keeping track of when we go live. So at Tower Babblecast on Twitter, facebook.com/Tower Babblecast, and head over to our website, towerbabble.ca. You can find everything we do, including the flagship show, the Tower of Babble podcast. And we'll be back next week with more Obi-Wan, and may the Force be with you.